hope the jury's allowed to take notes. Man, even if you're allowed to take notes, it's still so confusing. But I'm sure they are. I think I heard they were allowed to take notes. I wonder if it really helped though. But like for us, it's like nice for us to rewatch some things. Imagine being a lawyer and having to argue with him, you lose every time. Or if you were married to a lawyer, you can learn how to argue better.
And how are you employed, sir?
I am currently assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office in the Homicide Unit within the Massachusetts State Police.
And how long have
Trooper, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up loud, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And sir, if you want, that microphone in front of you is adjustable, so how close or far away you want. How long have you been a trooper with the State Police?
For about 10 years, and it'll be 5 years in September with the Homicide Unit.
Now, with reference to your work with the Homicide Unit, with the Detective Unit at the District Attorney's Office, what, if any, specialized training did you receive in regard to your work within that unit?
I've attended several homicide schools. I've also been certified in Celebrite software programming. I've also, in addition to homicide investigations, have worked within the narcotics unit on several different investigations there as well.
Now, with respect to your work with the Detective Unit, as far as, do you have sort of an
Your mom's a lawyer. I learned to win. Yeah, exactly.
on-call system?
We do.
And can you explain to the jury sort of how that works or how those specific days for your on-call duties are assigned?
Sure. So a Sergeant Buchanan usually sets the on-call rotation. It's at random, and your on-call is from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. Any unattended death, homicide, suicide, overdose, things of that nature that comes in during that time frame, you own it. That's your call.
Now, were you working in that capacity with the Detective Units on January 29th, 2022?
Yes.
And
Is this the famous Trooper Proctor? It sure is.
at some point in the morning, did you receive a call in regard to a situation in the town of Canton?
I did.
And what, if anything, was that? When did you first receive that call?
Sergeant Buchanan called me at approximately 6:48 that Saturday morning, advised that Canton PD had a male party that was discovered in the snow outside of a residence, and he wasn't sure what had happened. It was originally given to me as a possible medical situation.
And based on that initial call and that initial information that you received, what, if anything, did you do?
And at that point, I knew I needed to gather further information, so I contacted Detective Lank from Canton Police Department to see exactly what transpired in the morning. He had informed me that a male party had been transported to Good Samaritan Hospital with some injuries. Detective Lank didn't have much more information, so I knew I needed to contact the paramedic at the hospital, the individual who's treating Mr. O'Keefe.
Now, before we get to that, if I could, I'm sorry. As far as Detective Sergeant Lank was concerned, was that someone that you called on your own, or how did you get his information, or why did you call him specifically?
I knew he was on scene, so I called Detective Lank.
So that was some information that you had received at some point earlier, and then you contacted Detective Sergeant Lank.
Correct.
And following that, you reached out to whom? I'm sorry.
Firefighter Anthony Flamati.
And with reference to that conversation, what, if anything, did you learn from that?
Firefighter Flamati informed me that
I'm going to allow it.
Firefighter Flamati informed me that Mr. O'Keefe had some injuries to his right arm, some abrasions to his right arm, some injuries to his eyes, a cut to the nose area, and he put a 10% chance of survival for Mr. O'Keefe.
And based on that information, who did you call next?
I contacted Sergeant Buchanan, advised him that this sounds like it's more than a medical situation.
And
Weird, because like he got the call at 6:48 from Buchanan giving him the details. He contacted Detective Lang. But I remember Canton PD, some of them testified saying that initially they contacted the state. They initially contacted the state to come and process the scene, but they didn't come because John O'Keefe was not dead at the time, or not pronounced dead at the time. And that's why Canton PD had to be like, okay, well, I guess we'll do it. And then they had to get their leaf blowers and all that stuff, and they had to process the scene themselves. And then also I remember Buchanan, when he testified, saying that like, oh, he got this information. He contacted Trooper Proctor to take care of it. But he told Proctor to tell them that Canton should take care of it, I guess. I don't know. I guess maybe there's a chunk of information missing. Because I want to know, when did state police decide to actually get involved? Or were they initially just collecting information, and then once they realized that, oh, you know, like John O'Keefe is deceased, then they will get involved? Like, I guess I kind of want to like figure that part out too.
what, if any, decision did you and Sergeant Buchanan come to with regard to what to do, or where to go, or what the next steps should be?
So there's a couple different steps. Number one, it was blizzard conditions, and we operate, Ford Fusions or Chevy Malibu. So we got authorization to use our personal vehicles that are four-wheel drive, and to meet at Canton PD and to speak with the responding officers.
And about what time was it that you and Sergeant Mechanic arrived at the Canton Police Department?
It was approximately 10 a.m. that morning.
And so, Trooper Proctor, if I could ask you, whereabouts were you at about 8:22 in the morning?
Home.
Had you shoveled out of your driveway at that time?
Not yet.
Had you cleaned up your car at that time?
No.
So you arrived at the Canton Police Station about 10 a.m. or so. When was it that you arrived in relation to Sergeant Buchanan, if you know?
Yeah, Canton PD?
Yes.
I don't recall if Sergeant Buchanan arrived first or myself.
But suffice it to say, at some time you both arrived around 10 a.m., is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where did you go with the Canton Police when you arrived there?
We spoke with the, Sergeant Sean Good.
And what, if anything, did you learn from Sergeant Good?
Sergeant Good informed us that while he was on scene, he identified Kerry Roberts, Jennifer McCabe, Karen Reed. He also informed us that Jennifer McCabe was out early in the night at a waterfall bar in Canton with some individuals, and that she was the one who called 911 when they found Mr. O'Keefe in the snow that morning.
Now, with regard to the parties that you just mentioned, prior to January 29th, 2022, had you ever met or were you aware of either Jennifer McCabe or Kerry Roberts, or Karen Reed, or John O'Keefe?
I've never met any of them.
And at some point subsequent, did you have occasion to meet and speak with Ms. Reed?
Yes.
And do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom today?
I do.
Just for clarification purposes, if you could identify as to where she's seated or an article of clothing that she's wearing.
She's seated between Mr. Jackson and Mr. Yannetti wearing a pinstripe sport coat.
No, just ask the record reflect identification of the defendant.
Yes.
Now, after you speak with Sergeant Good, did you speak with anybody else at the Canton Police Station?
No.
And where did yourself and Sergeant Buchanan go from there?
We then traveled to the home of Matthew and Jennifer McCabe.
Now, with reference to when I say you and Sergeant Buchanan, at how long a period of time was it that you were with Sergeant Buchanan on that date of January 29th?
From 10 a.m. approximately, we met at Canton Police Department until when we returned to the Canton Police Department that afternoon around 5:30 in the afternoon. So all day. We also had a debrief meeting with just the troopers in my office at Canton PD. So at least from 10 to 6, 7, because we also went back to the office with some evidence.
And so from that entire time, from 10 in the morning until later on in the night, other than maybe short drives in individual cars, were you essentially with Sergeant Buchanan that entire day?
Yes, we used Sergeant Buchanan's pickup truck that entire day. I left my personal vehicle at the police department, and I rode with Sergeant Buchanan all day into the evening.
Now, from the Canton Police Station, where did you and Sergeant Buchanan go?
To McCabe's house in Canton.
And who, if anyone, did you speak with it?
We spoke with Matthew and Jennifer McCabe, as well as Brian Albert.
And those interviews that you conducted, were they how were they conducted?
One-on-one, Sergeant Buchanan and myself kind of rotated out Jennifer, Matthew, and Brian. So first we interviewed Jennifer, and then once that was completed, we had her step out, go to a separate room, brought in Matthew, and then the same thing with Brian.
And for the balance of the interviews that you conducted several interviews over the course of your investigation in this case, is that correct?
Correct.
And for those interviews...
No, I was trying to find firefighter Flamati's notes. I think it's on it might be on my iPad.
As far as individually done, was that primarily what you did with each of the people that you interviewed over the course of the investigation?
Yes, each interview conducted was either with Sergeant Buchanan or another trooper in one-on-one, with the exception of Julie and Chris Albert, I believe, were in the same room as us.
Now, with respect to, I believe you just answered it.
Get your blood results back? Oh, how was it? Hey now.
But as far as each of the interviews that you conducted over the course of your investigation,
Totally thought of the Lizzie McGuire song.
was it at any point in time, was there an interview that you conducted just by yourself?
There was just one.
And who was that one that you conducted by yourself?
That took place just at the grand jury across the street. It was the Currans. I had some difficulty locating them, so when they appeared for grand jury, I interviewed them one-on-one by myself prior to their testimony at grand jury.
You had attempted to meet with them prior to them coming to the grand jury, is that correct?
Yes.
And they had not been responsive to that?
Correct.
However, they were responsive to the summons, and so you interviewed them before they went into the grand jury, correct?
Yes.
The Currans?
Other than those, as far as Mr. and Mrs. Curran, every interview that you conducted was in the presence of at least one other trooper?
Correct.
Now, as far as you mentioned one name that we hadn't discussed before at the McCabe household, a Brian Albert. Prior to January 29th, 2022, had you ever met or were you aware or did you know Brian Albert?
And I met Brian Albert until that interview.
Now, following the interviews that you conducted at the McCabe household, where did you go from there?
After the interviews at the McCabe household, Sergeant Buchanan and I traveled to Good Samaritan Hospital for two reasons. One, we knew Miss Reed was there receiving treatment for sexual.
Because remember, it's not the Brian Albert, Nicole Albert that he may have been close to. It's, I think, the Chris and Julie and Colin Albert. I think that's what they were trying to say. Like the whole wedding thing was with the Chris and Julie Albert.
12. And two, we wanted to view Mr. O'Keefe.
And when you arrived at the Good Samaritan Hospital, was the defendant, Ms. Reed, still at that facility at that time?
We spoke with the security staff at Good Samaritan Hospital. They informed us that Miss Reed was released.
I'll allow it, just to where you went.
That Miss Reed was released several hours prior to our arrival.
And do you know about what time it was that you arrived, yourself and Sergeant Buchanan, at the Good Samaritan?
Cholesterol went from high to borderline high. Okay, nice. Do you remember what the number was? Triglycerides slightly lower. Which ones are the triglycerides? I know there's like good fat and like the bad fat.
Maybe approximately 1 o'clock.
And you mentioned there was a second reason, and that was to view Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
That's correct.
And in your application, did you have a chance to view Mr. O'Keefe's body at the Good Samaritan?
We did.
And where was that within the hospital?
That was in the emergency room.
And when you went to where Mr. O'Keefe was, can you describe for the jury what, if any, observations you made of Mr. O'Keefe's body at the time that you observed?
The first thing I noticed on Mr. O'Keefe is he had abrasions on his right arm. On the top of his right arm is approximately 6 to 8, ranging from his forearm to his lower bicep. There was no injuries underneath that forearm. Both eyes were swollen and black and blue. He had a cut on, I believe it was his right nostril. Another smaller cut, I believe it was on his left eye. Those are the injuries that kind of jumped out to me.
At any point in time, did you make any observations of the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head while you were there?
I did observe blood on the back of the head. I wasn't able to tell if there's any significant trauma to the back of his head.
Now, from the Good Samaritan Hospital, yourself and Sergeant Buchanan, what, if any, items did you secure in evidence from the Good Samaritan Hospital?
So after we viewed Mr. O'Keefe's body, we observed a pile of clothes in the corner that hospital staff had cut off Mr. O'Keefe and kind of piled into the corner. The one thing that had jumped out to both of us was one sneaker. And it's fairly common in a motor vehicle pedestrian strike that...
Sustained. Next question. I'll strike from fairly common. The observations.
As far as the clothing that you observed, can you describe the clothing that you observed?
Yes. We observed one black sneaker with a Nike logo, a pair of blue jeans, a belt, boxer shorts, an orange T-shirt, and a two-tone gray light.
The doctor told me I had beautiful cholesterol. I guess that's a good thing. 200 milligrams DL. Yeah, HDL is good and LDL is the bad one. Okay, yeah, I remember that. All I remember was at some point I think my number was I think 130 is considered high. That was when I came back from Korea and I didn't want to cook for a while. So I just ate boiled eggs with rice and, the yolk has high cholesterol. That's all I ate because I didn't want to cook and I was very jet lagged. I would just eat that with soy sauce and rice. Oh, God. But I think 130 was considered high, right? Like 120, 130?
Kind of hooded sweatshirt type of material.
Now, Trooper Proctor, over the course of your career responding to unattended deaths or death investigations as a member, as a detective of the unit, how many of those...
Yeah, that was back in... What was that? 2019, I think? Yeah, it was 2019. Oh, God, that was 5 years ago. That was a long time ago.
have involved situations where a pedestrian was struck by a motor vehicle?
Well, I've been in the unit, maybe 3 or 4, and then I've other experiences on the road.
And as far as the other experiences on the road, can you expound upon those as far as how many or over what time period we're talking about?
About 6 years I spent on the road, so maybe another 3 or 4.
And with reference to those pedestrian crashes, what, if anything, have you seen in those prior investigations in regard to sneakers or footwear of pedestrians involved in motor vehicle crashes? Objection.
I'm going to see you at sidebar on this.
What, if any, observations have you made on those prior occasions in regard to the footwear with respect to the pedestrians in motor vehicle crashes?
Oh, he won that?
In those experiences, I've observed one, if not both, pieces of footwear remained at the point of impact.
And so with respect to your observations of the clothing, there only being one sneaker on Mr. O'Keefe's property, what, if any, significance did that have to you as far as the sort of steps you took subsequent in your investigation?
That was just a little piece of evidence that Sergeant Buchanan and I picked up that only one piece of footwear revealed the potential of a vehicle strike.
Now, in addition to Sergeant Buchanan is one of your supervisors within the detective unit, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's another one, a Lieutenant Brian Tully.
That's correct.
Now, with respect to the one sneaker that was found in Mr. O'Keefe's property, what, if anything, with regard to that, did you communicate to Lieutenant Tully? Objection.
As to how it goes to the investigation?
Yes.
I'll allow it.
So Sergeant Buchanan and I informed DLT Tully that there was one shoe at the hospital.
And with respect to Detective Lieutenant Tully, are you aware that subsequently in the afternoon that there was a search that was conducted in the area of 34 Fairview Road where Mr. O'Keefe was found?
Yes.
And are you aware of what, if anything, was recovered in the area where Mr. O'Keefe was found on that day? Objection.
I'll allow it as to the investigation.
Yes. And what are you aware?
We were informed, Sergeant Buchanan and I were informed that CERT team and Detective Lieutenant Tully discovered a black Nike sneaker with a white swoosh logo that was a match to Mr. O'Keefe's shoe at the hospital.
Now, from these items of clothing, sorry, let me just sign it off. the clothing and the condition of the clothing that you observed at the hospital.
The clothing seemed it was wet. It was pretty well saturated. The right sleeve had some like cuts to it, like tears to it. There was blood and vomit on it, if I recall. Those were the observations I had made of the clothing. And they had been cut due to rendering first aid as well, the pants area.
Now, subsequent to viewing these clothing items at the hospital at a later time.
Oh my God. When we do like Korean barbecue and we eat like a fuck ton of red meat, oh God, the sleep is always like so bad because we usually will eat Korean barbecue like for dinner and then you would go to sleep. I don't know. I feel like I sweat so much. You get like the meat sweats, you know, and you feel so like, I don't know, like afterwards. So yeah, I try the same thing too. I try to eat more like chicken and shit like that. I mean, it's cheaper too. I certainly don't go out of my way to go out and buy steaks because although I like cooking it and like eating it, it's just more expensive.
Did you have occasion to observe surveillance video from a variety of places on the evening of January?
Yeah, the meat sweats. Oh, so gross.
28th into the early morning of January 29th, depicting Mr. Oakley.
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you note with regard to the clothing that you observed at the hospital and the clothing that you observed in the video?
So the videos I reviewed at C.F. McCarthy's bar and the Waterfall bar with the same clothes Mr. O'Keefe was wearing that Sergeant Mechanic and I had secured at Good Samaritan Hospital.
Okay.
Now, Trooper, I'm going to ask you some questions just in regard to securing meat items.
Oh God, there's a lot of activity going back there. You need more fish in your life. I hate eating salmon. Like I try to get my fish from salmon or like sushi, I guess. I like eating whitefish, but cooking whitefish, I don't know how to cook whitefish.
Specifically as evidence, but in general terms, as far as securing items and evidence within your unit. How is that accomplished? How is that done? What do you do with items that you deem of evidentiary value that you then secure?
Generally, if we take an item for evidence, we'll put it in a brown paper bag, document it, time, date, who secured that item, address, where it's discovered, and then we'll bring that back to our office, to the evidence processing area.
Now, remember, they double bagged it because it was like soaking wet. They brought it to the office. They laid it out to dry. However, the previous witness, Buchanan, wasn't sure after it dried who took care of it afterwards because it was like 6 days later until it was actually like, I guess, repackaged and dated. But he doesn't know if it was repackaged before and it was just dated later, which wouldn't make sense to me. We're thinking maybe it was Proctor who did it. So I guess we'll hear from Proctor to see if he was the one that bagged it 6 days after it dried or after when they brought it in to have it dried.
From there, it'll go to a permanent evidence room that has triple retention. It has an actual key, a key card, and an actual access code. And only 3 members of my office have access to that room, the 2 evidence officers and Detective Lieutenant Tully.
And at this time, on January 29th, 2022, who was assigned as the evidence officers who had access to that room?
So that'd be Trooper David Achico and Trooper Jeffrey Kukowski.
Did either yourself or Sergeant Buchanan have any access to that evidence order?
No.
Now, with reference to these items that were seized and, say, items that were seized subsequent during the course of your
So he
investigation,
doesn't have access to
Jeffrey,
it?
2022, who was
evidence officers and Detective Lieutenant Tully.
and at this time, on January 29th, 2022, who was assigned as the evidence officers who had access to that room?
So that'd be Trooper David Achico and Trooper Jeffrey Kukowski.
Did either yourself or Sergeant Buchanan have any access to that evidence order?
No.
Now,
How the fuck do you spell DeChico? DeChico and Kukowski.
with reference to these items that were seized and, say, items that were seized subsequent during the course of your investigation, did they go through that same sort of evidentiary storage process that you were speaking about before?
Yes.
Now, with reference to, in addition to the clothing items, at some point did you come into possession and seize Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes.
And do you recall where it was that you received or retrieved Mr. O'Keefe's phone from?
We received it at the Canton Police Department.
And was that prior to you going to the Good Samaritan?
After, I believe.
So following the Good Samaritan, where did you go from there?
So after the Good Samaritan Hospital, Sergeant Mechanic and I traveled to 345 Country Hill Drive in Dighton.
And why did you go to that location?
That was the residence of Miss Reed's parents' home. And having a brief conversation with Miss Reed on the phone, she informed us she was at her parents' house.
So you had called Miss Reed, spoken to her, and informed her that you were coming there to speak, correct?
Correct.
And just as you had done with Ms. McCabe, Ms. McCabe, you spoke to Ms. Reed within her home?
Yes.
And who, if anyone else, did you reach out?
That's what I do to steaming. But what kind of fish do you get? Because usually I'll get cod because it's cheapest. But cod sometimes stinks. Like I'll put sake on it to kind of get rid of the smell. But I don't know. Sometimes cod be stinky, man. And then salmon is the easiest for me to cook. But I don't like eating salmon. And then, sea bass, forget about that. That shit's expensive. I don't know. What other fishes do you guys eat? Tilapia? I don't like cooking tilapia, man. Any recommend? Send me some recipes for fishes.
to on your way there with regard to local law enforcement as you were driving to Dayton?
We contacted the Dayton Police Department just for a couple of reasons. One, it's a common courtesy. If we're in another town, we just kind of give the local PD a heads up. But also, we needed to coordinate a plow truck and potentially a tow truck as well.
And why did you need to coordinate those?
At the time, there must have been at least a foot of snow on the ground, more. And it was a dead-end cul-de-sac, so which made it difficult to navigate. So we requested the plow to clear a path for Sergeant Buchanan and I to get down the roadway, as well as clear the driveway of the residents, so the tow truck could pull into the driveway.
Now, as far as the drive from Good Samaritan, that's in Brockton, is that correct?
Yes.
As far as the drive from the Good Samaritan Brockton to the defendant's parents' home in Dayton, about how long a drive was that, and how would you describe the weather conditions along the way?
Yeah, with the weather conditions were white out, high winds, blizzard conditions. We had to travel very slow. It was almost about an hour to get there.
And when you arrived there, you're in Sergeant Buchanan's truck, is that correct?
Correct.
And where did Sergeant Buchanan position the truck in relation to the house at 345 Country Hill?
From what I recall, Sergeant Buchanan went down the cul-de-sac and turned around.
Oh, I used to watch salmon mukbangs where the dude just eats the huge chunks of salmon. Nah, I don't like salmon, like raw or cooked. Raw because it's too slimy and it's like more on the fatty side. I like lean fish, and then cooked, it's just like I'm just sick of it. Like I guess I could eat salmon, but I'm usually just like
around, and he actually had to let me out first because of the high snowbanks, and then he parked kind of along the snow, pointing essentially to Mr. Reed's house.
And at some point, did members of the Dayton Police come along and join?
Yes.
And do you recall who those people were?
I believe one of the officers' last name was Barrios.
And had you ever met that officer before?
No.
And we heard of Barrels earlier.
Now, with respect to the home, had you and Sergeant Buchanan approached the home at any point prior to the Dayton Police showing up?
I can't recall if, no, they had arrived first before we approached the home.
And when you approached the home, you went, what did you traverse? How did you get from the street to the home?
We walked down the driveway, and then we observed Ms. Reed's Lexus parked in the driveway, the front of it facing one of the garage doors. That's when we observed the broken taillight on the right side of the vehicle. We then proceeded to the front door. The snow was about up to our waist, and knocked on the door and was greeted by Mr. Reed.
So as you're walking up the driveway towards the home, you see Ms. Reed's vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's a vehicle that you later subsequently found to be registered to Ms. Karen Reed, is that correct?
Correct.
Madam Mayor Approach?
Yes.
Document for Ms. Reed's Lexus.
Is that the plate information that's contained in there, is that the same plate that was affixed to Ms. Reed's vehicle on that day?
Yes.
And that also details sort of the history or how long she's had possession of that vehicle, is that fair to say?
Correct.
Going back to, I believe, 2021, is that correct?
Yes.
Mayor Approach?
Yes.
At some point you go into the house, is that correct?
Yes.
And how do you enter into the defendant's parents?
So Sergeant Buchanan and I, after we knocked on the front door, Mr.
Really, you started the try over again? Now I know I know who is who.
Reed directed us around the corner, opened up the garage
If you
door
get confused, I'll try to help you out too.
for us and invited us in.
Now, if I can take you back to, I'm sorry, just as far as when you're coming up the driveway and you're passing by the defendant's vehicle, you mentioned some damage that you observed to the right rear passenger side area, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you describe to the jury what it was specifically that you observed as far as damage to that area of the vehicle?
Yeah, the right rear taillight had essentially large pieces missing from it.
So you proceed inside the home, and where is it that you're directed, and where is the defendant?
We're invited into a large living room area. Miss Reed is seated on a couch, and her parents, William and Janet, are present for the conversation and kind of standing off to the side.
Was there snow caked into the taillight?
And that conversation goes on for...
Because he said right rear taillight has large pieces missing from it. The other guy said that it was cracked, but not completely damaged. Cracked, but not completely damaged. And maybe snow caked on it. But then he would have saw it maybe around the same time this guy saw it, maybe a couple minutes afterwards.
Approximately how long?
Approximately half hour, 40 minutes.
And when
I don't
you
know. It could just be depends on who you ask, right?
terminate that conversation, you come back outside of the home, is that correct?
Yes.
And where is the vehicle at this point?
That is being put on the tow truck.
Now, in addition to the defendant's vehicle, what, if anything else, was taken and seized as evidence from the defendant on that one?
After confirming the phone Ms. Reed was holding was, in fact, hers, we told her we were seizing the phone and we'd be writing a search warrant for that.
Now, during the course of the conversation that you and Sergeant Mechanic had with the defendant that afternoon at her parents' home in Dayton, were there some
Wait, you can see someone's phone without getting the search warrant first?
questions in relation to contact information for other people that were at bars or different establishments the night before?
Yes, we asked Ms. Reed specifically for some of the friends that Mr. O'Keefe was with at C.F. McCarthy's. One person in particular was Michael Camerano. So we observed Ms. Reed enter the passcode on her phone, retrieve Mr. Camerano's phone number for us, provided to us, and that just further confirmed that was her cell phone.
Now, through your training experience, when a cell phone is seized from a person, what, if anything, is it that you do with regard to that cell phone to preserve the information on?
Well, first thing we do is we put it in airplane mode, and then we give it to the cell phone expert in our office, Trooper Nicholas Garino, and he essentially tries to access the data in that phone once a search warrant is obtained.
Now, as far as putting that cell phone in what you described as airplane mode, what is the purpose of that?
It's to avoid if someone wants to go on a tablet or a laptop and access the information on their phone, and they can start deleting stuff off their iCloud. This prevents that.
So you secure the phone, you secure the vehicle on the tow truck, and then where did you and Sergeant McKenna go from there?
We follow the tow truck from the address in Dayton to the Canton Police Department. We're secured in the Sallyport Bay.
And if you know approximately what time was it that you arrived at the Canton Police Department and secured the defendant's vehicle in the Sallyport Bay?
So we left Dayton around 4:16 p.m. and arrived in Canton at the police department at approximately 5:31 p.m.
And with reference to the Canton Police Department's Sallyport garage, why was the vehicle taken there?
I wasn't part of that decision, but it's my understanding that it was
The Canton Police Department's
I was p.m.
And with reference
5:31.
in Milton, but that's not large enough to house a vehicle that size, and it's not heated.
And in regard to the heated, what was the sort of purpose or utility of storing it in a heated setting?
Mr. Reed's vehicle was covered with snow and ice at the time. It was transported from Dayton to Canton.
And with regard to the Sallyport garage area of the Canton Police Department, at some point were you inside that area?
Yes.
And what, if any, observations
Smoked salmon. I can have it sometimes, like here and there.
did you make as far as the temperature or the heating within that facility?
I don't remember the exact, I couldn't put like a ballpark on temperature, but it's certainly warmer than outside.
Now, as far as the vehicle was concerned, either on scene, either in Dayton or at the Sallyport garage, or at any point in time that you were in the presence of that vehicle, what, if any, contact did you have? What, if anything, did you do or observe Sergeant Mechanic to do with regard to that damaged area you described on the right rear passenger side?
Yeah. Sergeant Mechanic and I never touched any part of that vehicle.
And as far as the moving it from sort of the tow truck into the Sallyport area, how was that accomplished?
The tow truck driver removed it from the tow truck and pulled it into the Sallyport Bay.
Now, as far as prior to leaving that Sallyport area of the garage where the vehicle was, what, if anything, did you and Sergeant Mechanic do with reference to securing that vehicle or coordinating it off in any way, shape?
We tried to set up a perimeter as best we could using caution tape, and just kind of sectioned it off with caution tape.
Now, at some point, you leave the Sallyport area of the Canton Police Station, and where did you go from there?
We had a debrief meeting, so there's other troopers. There's troopers at scene on 34 Fairview Road. There's other troopers conducting interviews. So at the end of the night, members of my office met in a conference room at the Canton Police Department to exchange information as far as what everyone had learned throughout the day.
And as far as that meeting is concerned, that's just troopers from your unit, from your office, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so there were no members of the Canton Police Department that were present for that, is that correct?
No, correct.
And do you know why that was?
They had taken a step back from the investigation. They weren't going to participate in any interviews or anything of that nature.
And how was that communicated to you and Sergeant Mechanic?
The best of my recollection was that debrief meeting that we were informed that essentially Canton PD would be taking a step back from the investigation, and that now this is just solely a Norfolk State Police investigation.
So before we get to sort of the debriefing and all that's covered in that, as far as when you're on call, you get a call for any kind of sort of homicide or unattended death or anything like that. You then become what's called a case officer for that investigation, is that correct?
Correct.
And can you describe for the jury sort of what the duty or the role is of the case officer vis-a-vis the rest of the members of the unit?
So essentially, a case officer is more of a facilitator. You kind of delegate out tasks, coordinate interviews. The case officer isn't the sole decision maker. I have supervisors. I have that we bounce ideas off of. I get feedback from. I also keep them updated. It's a collaborative effort in each investigation. We're a small office, so when a homicide comes in, everyone essentially drops what they're doing, and we all work on it together. So it's a collective effort to work on these cases. And essentially, the case officer is just kind of the record keeper of all the reports that come in and video that comes in. But when it comes down to decision-making time, it's a group effort.
Now, with reference to that collaborative effort that you were just discussing and this sort of debriefing meeting, so there were other troopers doing other things or other tasks throughout the course of the day of the 29th, correct?
Yes.
And so what was sort of the purpose of or not specifically what was discussed, but in general terms, what was discussed during the course of this debriefing?
I wonder if they're going to call the other. I wonder if they're going to call in the other troopers. We've only heard from him and Buchanan so far.
The taillight piece is found at 34 Fairview Road by CERT. The one sneaker found at 34 Fairview Road. Interviews conducted, and then Sergeant Mechanic and I have shared everything we had kind of learned throughout the day as well.
And that debriefing meeting, if you know about how long approximately did that take in this case?
I can't recall, maybe half hour.
And so following that meeting, where did you go from there?
Sergeant Mechanic and I had secured some evidence, the clothing from Good Samaritan Hospital, the additional sneaker found at 34 Fairview Road, as well as the taillight pieces discovered at 34 Fairview Road, and Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone and Miss Reed's cell phone, and him and I transported those to the office in Canton.
And when you transported them to the office in Canton, what, if anything, did you do with those items?
The 2 cell phones were given to Trooper Nicholas Garino, and the clothing was laid out on top of butcher paper to dry out in our evidence intake area. And then the bag taillight pieces were set aside in the evidence intake processing area. Sergeant Mechanic and I didn't have access to the permanent evidence locker area, so we just secured them in the temporary intake area.
And that leads me to my next question. As far as the area that you're talking about with regard to the clothing items and the other items that you secured beyond the cell phones, that was in a secure area of your office, is that correct?
Correct.
And by secure, I mean restricted access to the troopers within your unit, correct?
Correct. It's you need a key card, and it's also equipped with an alarm.
Now, following that, as far as these items of evidence and other items of evidence that seized throughout the course of an investigation, how is it that they go, or what?
Do you think there's footage of the secure areas where they put the evidence and stuff like that? I'm assuming there might be footage, right? Hey, lady, how's it going? How are you doing today?
Anything is done, if you know, between the time that they go from this temporary storage area to the permanent storage area.
Yeah, I'm not an evidence officer. I never have been. My understanding is once it's in the evidence processing area, it gets put into the permanent evidence room that only, like I said, two troopers and the detective lieutenant have access to. And it's the evidence officer's responsibility to process that material when they see fit.
Okay. So they laid the clothes out to dry and would have been on the evidence officers who we heard from earlier. Their name was mentioned in Proctor's testimony. DiCiccio and Kakowski. DiCiccio and Kakowski. So I guess they would be the ones that would take care of the clothes after it's dried and then bag it and then process it, I guess.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to February 1st of 2022, were you working in regard to this investigation on that day as well?
Yes.
And at some point, did you have a case?
But I know like some of the evidence bags had his name on it. Fuck, I forgot which was which though.
To go back to the Canton Police Department, specifically in the Sally Port Garage area.
I did.
And what was the purpose of you going out to the Sally Port Garage on that?
Pursuant to a search warrant, we were processing Miss Reed's Lexus SUV.
And when you say we, who, if anyone else, was present with you, or who, if anyone else, did you contact in reference to the processing pursuant to that search warrant of the defendant's vehicle?
So we had a chemist from the State Police Lab, Ms. Maureen Hartnett, as well as a trooper from Crime Scene Services, Trooper Zachary Clark. And then later in the day, the accident recon team, Trooper Joe Paul, had arrived as well.
Now, if I could just ask you a couple questions in regard to Crime Scene Services section. Can you describe for the jury sort of what their role is in regard to investigations that you do and how they're sort of contacted?
So in any scene, if it's required for it to be documented, Crime Scene Services will arrive. They'll document the scene with photographs. In more serious situations, in a homicide, for instance, they'll actually take video as well as dust fingerprints. You're
good? You cut the grass, trim the bushes? Oh, I have to fertilize my flowers. I'm so lazy. They're like struggling right now. They had such a good bloom, and then now they're like, okay, I'm hungry. I'm like, I'm too lazy to fertilize you.
Now, with respect to this particular investigation, there were a number of different areas or different times when Crime Scene Services was contacted to document things, correct?
Yes.
And that would include a Good Samaritan when you observed injuries to Mr. O'Keefe?
Correct.
That would include the autopsy that was performed on Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
That would include February 1st in the Sally Port Garage when the search warrant was executed on the defendant's vehicle?
Correct.
That would include subsequent searches that occurred at Fairview Road, is that correct?
Yes.
And with respect to each of those instances, if you know, was it ever the same trooper from Crime Scene Services section that came out and memorialized each of those respective areas?
It was a different trooper each time.
And is that something that you or any member of your unit has any control over whatsoever as far as who shows up from Crime Scene Services to memorialize or document?
No.
Now, with respect to the search warrant execution on February 1st, what I want to ask is between the time that you were in the garage on January 29th, 2022, and the time that you're there for the search warrant execution on February 1st, had you been in that Sally Port area of the Canton Police Station at any time in between?
No.
Now, with respect to the taillight area on the passenger side of the defendant's vehicle, what, if any, differences or what, if anything, do you note sort of between your observations of the taillight on the 29th versus your observations on February 1st?
Yeah, the only difference from the 29th to the 1st was snow and ice had melted from the taillight.
So as far as the condition of that particular taillight, was it in essentially the same condition that you observed it on the 29th when you observed it on the 1st?
Yes, it was still broken and large pieces missing from it.
But as far as the broken status of it and the pieces that were missing, was it any more broken or any more pieces missing from it when you saw it on the 1st versus when you saw it on the 29th?
No.
And with respect to the taillight housing for that vehicle on that particular day, what, if anything, happened with it on that day, if you know?
the state police chemist, Ms. Hartnett, had it removed, which she brought to the lab herself.
So she had it removed it herself, and then physically took it with her when she left to the lab?
Yeah, it was with the assistance of a Canton police officer who had an auto body shop, so he was kind of well-versed in cars, so he was able to assist the chemist with removing the housing unit.
Now, at any point in time on that day of February 1st, 2022, did you come into contact physically or otherwise with that tail light? Did you handle it in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Your Honor, if I may, with the court's permission, I would request to publish. Give me one moment, Your Honor. Permission, if I could publish a portion of Exhibit 34. I do that approximately.
Oh, we have a better. This one's not like all fucked up. It's still kind of dark though. What is up with this footage? It's better than the other one.
You can just pause it right there. Okay. Your Honor, if I may, it may be easier and more visible with this particular video with the lights on.
Okay,
Right out.
sure.
Trooper Proctor, directing your attention to what's up on the screen as Exhibit 34. Do you recognize what's depicted on the screen?
Yes, that's the Sally Port area, Canton Police Department, and Miss Reed's Lexus kind of roped off with yellow caution tape.
And this is the execution act search warrant that you were speaking about before, as far as your presence and some of the other members of the state police and the state police lab that you were talking about.
Correct.
And this is going to be run from here for just a minute.
Can't we see timestamps? Wah.
So while this is going, if I could just ask a couple questions as far as people within this video, do you recognize anyone in this video?
Yeah, myself, kind of the top of the screen. Trooper Zach Clark, we the one with the camera taking photographs of the vehicle.
Now, with reference to this video,
Yeah, so same thing with the other footage with the motion capture, right? Where it's like not really recording a continuous footage. It's kind of like choppy.
from Sally Port Garage Canton Police Department, what, if anything, did you learn over the course of this in regard to
What if the technology just sucks? Like really, this is like really bad.
how that video was recorded or how it's, what, if anything, sort of activates that video?
Objection. Ask it differently, Mr. Miller.
As far as this video is concerned, is this one continuous time frame that we're looking at, or how is it?
Objection. Sustained.
My understanding, it's motion
That
active.
means you can't answer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can ask it differently.
I'm not sure what's anything said.
No.
All right. I'll strike if there was anything. But Mr. Lally, just ask a question, please.
With respect to this video, as far as the recording is set up, how is that activated, or how does it record?
Objection. Same question.
Yeah. How does he know that? It's sustained.
Have you watched this video or other videos from the Canton Police Department, Sally Port Garage?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you note with regard to timing? As far as there's a timestamp on the video, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you note with regard to the timestamp on this video or the other videos that you observed with regard to how time moves throughout the video?
The timestamp on the video tends to pause, indicating it's motion activated.
It tends to pause. I'll strike after that.
It's going to run to about 9:24. Ms. Cummings, you can take that.
Yeah, this shit like really
Very much.
skips.
Now, Trooper, with regard to that taillight that was then taken by Ms. Hartnett to the lab, is that correct?
Yes.
And at some point that was returned to the custody of the state police, your detective unit?
Correct.
And do you have that taillight housing with you today in court?
I do.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, if the trooper could retrieve that?
Okay.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Probably be easier that way. Sir, you can stay right there. And human item, sir. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that?
I recognize that to be the housing unit.
And as far as you're recognizing the housing unit, is there any sort of denotation or anything on the outside of that box indicating what's contained therein?
There's a State Police Crime Lab sticker with a number associated with it.
Oh, we can see the tail light. All right, let me see. Taped up. Got some gloves on. Here comes the tail light. Bro, it's upside down, I think. Right? I think it's upside down.
Trooper, you can go ahead and put that back in the box. Thank you very much.
No, I think it's upside down. Hold on a second.
Thank you, sir.
It's upside down. I got you. Let's take a look at it. All right, Mr. Buchanan. Let me save this. Funny. All right. Here we go. Sorry, I have so much garbage on my desktop right now, but let's do this. There you go. Now it's not upside down. So here's the taillight. That's the clear piece, I guess, that they haven't recovered yet. This is the clear part that's there, I guess. And it's just the red that's missing, right? So I guess, like, when you're looking at this, what would you think? Would it be closer to what Kerry Roberts said? Would it be closer to what the Dighton police officer said? Would it be closer with what Proctor said? Does it look like it's cracked? Does it look like the whole thing is gone? Does it look like it's missing? I don't know. But I think this is the right orientation.
Trooper, you can go ahead and put that back in the box. Thank you very much.
Go when you mark the bag within the box and we'll mark
44 is back.
Shove it in there.
on the bag.
Marked as
Okay.
Trooper Proctor, do you recognize what's up on the screen that's been marked as Exhibit 147?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is the right taillight of Miss Reed's Lexus SUV. And you can see large pieces of it are missing.
Again, is that the same condition that you observed it both on February 1st as well as January 29th, obviously minus the snow and the ice?
Yeah, minus the snow and ice, sir, yes.
Can we see what the other taillight looks again? I forgot where the clear pieces are supposed to be.
Thanks, sir. Just go in, you can take that down, Mr. Officer. You can have the lights back up. Thank you.
Just kidding, we're not going to get it.
Now, if I could turn your attention to February 3rd of 2022. In the morning hours of that day, where did you go in regard to this investigation?
Sergeant Mechanic, Trooper David Achico, and myself went to 34 Fairview Road along with Trooper Evan Brandt from Crime Scene Services to essentially dig out the snow in pursuit for more evidence.
Now, as far as you mentioned, as far as dig out the snow in pursuit of other evidence, what, if any, tools or implements did you and the other troopers bring with you in order to effectuate that on February 3rd?
We just had kind of standard snow shovels.
And with respect to that, as far as going back to 34 Fairview Road, and let me clarify as far as that.
Sorry, I'm having issues with the... No. I'm having issues with the live stream thing. It's... YouTube is not liking me right now. See, Jan, this is what I'm talking about. YouTube just does this. Is it Chrome? Hold on. If I click on it, oh, is it okay? I don't know. It's broken. Whatever.
Prior to that date of February 3rd, 2022, had you been to 34 Fairview Road at any point in time?
Now there's a gap here.
No.
So that morning of February 3rd, that's the first time that you went?
Correct.
Now, with respect to, is that, how many times did you go to the area of 34 Fairview Road over the course of the next sort of days and weeks in regard to potential recovery of items?
So February 3rd, I retrieved items on the 8th, the 11th, and 18th, and we was out there on the 10th with Sergeant Mechanic as well.
Now, as far as any of those occasions that you just described, that you went to the area of 34 Fairview Road, on any of those occasions, were you by yourself?
No.
And with respect to those other occasions, what type of people, who was with you? I know you mentioned on the 3rd, but beyond the 3rd, those other occasions that you described, who was with you?
He looks like he's in his 40s or something.
On the 18th, I believe it was Trooper Chico, based on the handwriting on the evidence bag. Kind of recognized his handwriting. And the other 2 dates, I don't recall who was out there with me.
Now, with respect to items that were located, starting with the 3rd, do you recall specifically what, if any, items were located on the 3rd?
We've located a black drinking straw, consistent with the one seen in the waterfall video of Mr. O'Keefe walking out of the bar hole in the glass. We located his hat that had the American flag that was deep underneath the snow. As we were digging, we discovered that. We further discovered other pieces of plastic as well.
Now, as far as these return trips on successive dates to 34 Fairview Road, what was the reasoning behind that, or what was sort of the plan in reference to why were there so many different dates that you returned to 34 Fairview Road with other troopers?
So after the 29th, there was close to 2 feet of snow that had fallen. And in the days and weeks that had followed, the temperatures ranged from 30 degrees up to 60 degrees. And there was about a half a dozen days.
Jesus, 60 degrees? Oh my God, I don't miss living on the East Coast. Imagine being like in the teens and then, all of a sudden back to 60 degrees. Jesus.
Mixed in of heavy rain. So as the snow started to melt, more evidence started to present itself.
So there were items that you recovered on the 3rd and then items you recovered on successive dates that weren't visible or you didn't see on the 3rd, correct?
Correct.
Now, if I could, keeping you on February 3rd, you mentioned that there was a Trooper Evan Brent that was present with you during the search on that day as well?
Yes.
Now, in addition to going to 34 Fairview Road, where else did yourself and Trooper Brent go on that particular day?
We traveled to One Meadows Ave, Mr. O'Keefe's residence.
I'm trying so hard to not tune some of this out, but a lot of this is like so redundant.
And is that the first time that you had been to One Meadows Ave or Mr. O'Keefe's residence?
Yes.
Now, with respect to that residence, why is it that you and Trooper Brent went there on February 3rd?
We wanted to document Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle to show that there was no damage to it, as well as the garage doors.
And why did you want to document that?
Do we have pictures? This is exactly what I was looking for. Are there pictures?
Review of Mr. O'Keefe's ring video, particularly the one above the garage that displays the driveway. On the 29th at approximately 5:07 a.m., Ms. Reed's pulling her vehicle out of the garage door, backing up towards Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, and comes extremely close, if not slightly hitting the vehicle. So we want to at least go document that there was no damage to Mr. O'Keefe's car.
Pictures?
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish that for the jury as far as what's been marked as Exhibit 6.
And they better not be blurry, shitty photos, okay?
150.
Okay.
All right. No.
Trooper Proctor, with regard to this ring video, how was
No,
this
we don't need to see this fucking video again. Just show us the fucking pictures.
obtained, if you know?
So we first observed it through Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone on the Ring app, and then I wrote a search warrant for Ring itself.
And as far as the videos that you received,
Wait, what?
if you know?
So we first observed it through Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone on the Ring app, and then I wrote a search warrant for Ring itself.
And as far as the videos that you received from Ring, did they match what was on the, or what was viewable in the Ring app on Mr. O'Keefe's cell?
The videos on Mr. O'Keefe's app, yes, it was what Ring produced, matched.
So as far as any videos that were present that you received pursuant to the search warrant, or any videos that were not present, that was consistent with what you observed on Mr. O'Keefe's app on his phone?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Gilman, if you could.
Yeah, poke with cooked fish sounds. Ugh. I have seen they do. I have seen them do poke with octopus, but Jan doesn't like octopus. Don't even do poke, Jan. I mean, you could do like crab meat. I don't know. I just feel like this wouldn't be good. Crab meat, eel, but that's not even poke at that point. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do like not poke, but like a cooked chirashi ish, like shrimp, crab meat, connie, egg, veggies.
Wait from here.
Okay, we've seen this before.
Where that vehicle is.
Based off the attire, Miss Reed driving.
Now, you observed this video and whose vehicle? Now, O'Keefe's vehicle is.
There's some snow. You can see on the back window here, the bumper and the windows here is starting to be covered in snow.
And as far as when that vehicle comes close to or makes contact with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, what, if anything, you observed the snow come off of the car at that point?
I do not know.
Now, with reference to the back area of,
Oh, this was mentioned earlier. I guess Lolly's trying to say that like the car didn't hit hard enough for the snow to come off the windshield, and so the car probably didn't hard enough for the taillight to crack, I guess.
in reference to any red pieces or any pieces of taillight or plastic or glass or anything in that area that you observed.
Hey, Messy Ball, how are you doing today? I have the live stream playing on my iPad, but it's muted though, so I can see the chat like.
So this area here is, you can see the white snow. There's no red pieces of taillight, which would show up in the contrast of the white snow.
Just going to be provided from there for a moment.
How's your weekend? Or how was your weekend?
Now, as far as the damage area that you were discussing previous that you observed in the January 29th in the Sally Port, February 1st in the Sally Port, and then the item that was just marked as evidence, What, if anything, do you observe in the right rear passenger side taillight area of the defendant's vehicle from the speed?
You can see the inconsistent lighting. If you compare it to the left versus the right, there's a gap right there.
If what you observed from that video, does that appear to be consistent with what you observed on January 29th at the Canton Police Department, February 1st, and in the item of evidence that was just one?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, you can take that down.
It's hard. It's hard to tell, okay? Depending on where you pause the video, it looks like there's a chunkling missing. But pausing it right here looks kind of red. I wonder if Lolly's like, oops, I shouldn't have paused it here.
Department, February 1st. And
There's another still shot that we have where the video was paused earlier and it looks like the clear part, and there's like a little like missing, a chunk that's missing. But pausing it right here, fuck, I'm looping. I think I'm just really fucking hungry. I'm sorry, I'm saying the same thing over again. I'm looping.
The item of evidence that was just one.
Yes.
I'm looping.
Ms. Gilman, is that correct? May I approach?
Yes.
Okay, show us the pictures. Is this John's car?
Do you recognize what's up on the screen? It's not marked as 546.
Yes, Mr. O'Keefe's Chevy Traverse vehicle.
And with respect to this particular foreground here, if you could describe to the jury what we're looking at there.
So that is Mr. O'Keefe's driveway. You see two garage doors there that lead into the house. And above those garage doors is the Ring camera.
Now, with respect to the rear of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, from your viewing of the video,
So the damage to John's car would be right around here. It's dark right there. Can we please get more angles? I'm sure they'll have more angles. Angles, close-ups would really help. Because looking here, I don't see damage on John's car, but maybe there's a more zoomed-in version of this.
6 on the ring video, video number 153. If you could, using that laser pointer, direct jury's attention to where it is.
I did hear Officer Barrels from Dayton PD. I did hear that. So we have different testimonies of what people saw about the taillight, right? We have like Carrie Roberts, we have the Dayton PD, Proctor.
It's on this vehicle that there's contact event between this vehicle and this road.
It would have been in this general area here.
As far as your observations on that date,
What's the, hold on. Okay.
I guess we talked about this, but it'd be cool to have an expert that can do a reenactment. So Karen's car backing up into John's car. Where would it make contact? Blah, blah, blah. If the taillight can crack, that'd be kind of cool to see too. Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the taillight thing. To me, it's kind of just like a wash. So he said that it was cracked. Oh, fuck, what did he say? I have it here. He said that damage to the right rear taillight. Taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked, but not completely damaged. And there was a dent on the rear quarter. And then later on, Lolly was like, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say the snow was caked on the car? And he was like, yeah, I guess the snow was caked on. So I don't know if like the snow was caked on the part where the giant chunklings were missing. But then Proctor, before that, said, oh, no. Like rear taillight had large pieces missing from it. I don't know. And then when we're looking at the pixelations of these surveillance, it's just like, I don't know. It kind of looks like a chunk is missing, and then it kind of doesn't look like a chunk is missing. I haven't seen anyone talk about John's brother.
What
were they saying about John's brother? I haven't heard anything about him.
You had a chance to review those?
Yes, sir.
Just a few of those. That's on the driver's side or passenger side?
The driver's side.
Oh yeah, I don't see no damage. Also, is this just a courtroom? Because I feel like sometimes when we look at, oops, let me take a better picture. I don't know if it's blue tinted because the pictures are tinted blue, or if it's just like the courtroom camera capturing the footage on the projector or whatever the fuck it's on the screen, the monitor, and then it's like the lights are dimmed or something.
And what kind of damage did you observe that area of the vehicle on February 3rd when you were there?
No damage.
Oh, really? I haven't heard anything about John's family.
If I could have photograph 7780, that's my actual. And sir, do you recognize what's up on the screen and what's now been marked as Exhibit 560?
Yes, those are the two garage doors of Mr. O'Keefe's house.
And what's contained up on that screen is that a very accurate portrayal of what you observed in Mr. O'Keefe's garage doors on February 3rd.
Yes.
And with respect to those garage doors, what, if any, damage did you note or observe on those garage doors at any point when you were there on February 3rd?
I did not observe any damage to the garage doors.
Okay. Ms. Gilman, you can take that down.
Okay, so we have pictures of John's car.
Now, Trooper Proctor, subsequent dates following February 3rd, specifically February 8th, 11th, and 18th. Did you have occasion to return to 34 Fairview Road on those days?
I did.
And you had mentioned a little bit about sort of changes in the weather. What, if anything, sort of evolved as far as the weather was concerned between the dates of February 3rd when you were there and February 8th, 11th, and 18th?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the weather pattern had kind of fluctuated from 30 degrees up to 60 degrees with a handful of days of heavy rain mixed in, so that caused a lot of snow to melt as well.
And with respect to each of those respective days of February 8th, 11th, and 18th, what, if anything, did you observe or recover, you and the other troopers that were present on those days?
Yeah, it was further evidence that was originally buried under the snow because of the warm temperature and the rain and the snow melting kind of revealed itself. More pieces of plastic, clear and red.
Now, with respect to the residents at 34 Fairview Road, each of these times that you were at the residence, including February 3rd, where in relation to the house were these items observed and recovered by you and the other troopers on those respective days?
So if you're looking at 34 Fairview, looking at the front of the house, it's to the left side of the property, between like the flagpole and kind of the fire hydrant, that general area, the front and left of the property.
Now, with regard to these three subsequent dates, as far as February 8th, 11th, and 18th, these items that were observed and recovered on those dates.
Right. I wonder, because Lolly didn't ask him. So there's a surveillance footage where the brother is like, doing the driveway stuff. And he's like kind of cleaning the snow off the vehicles, like Karen Reed's car a little bit. He doesn't really touch the right taillight, but I wonder if he saw there's any damage to the right taillight or not. But they never asked that. So maybe he never saw damage to the right taillight. Maybe they already covered that in like deposition and like previous, in like the grand jury stuff and the federal stuff. So maybe the brother didn't say anything. That's why Lolly didn't ask.
Where were they in relation to the roadway? Where were they in relation to the hydrant, the flagpole, other sort of markers in the area?
I don't specifically remember exactly if they were around the flagpole because the CERT team had came and shoveled an area around. So that stuff had melted first.
Wait, Jan. Tokyo Central? Go to Tokyo. Oh my God. Go to Tokyo Central in Torrance. Oh my God. You have to get the tonkatsu. It's the best tonkatsu ever. Like the best. And it's not like super expensive or anything. Dude, go to Torrance. If I was in stream right now, I'd meet you there. Wait, do I have a doctor's appointment today? No, it's on Wednesday. Oh my God. I was like, holy shit. Did I miss something?
First because there was a lot less snow and then they created more piles. But as far as the general area was by the flagpole and fire hydrant, it wasn't like on the other side of the property. It was in that general area.
Because that's where they have the food court.
Just with respect to those items, were they generally found or were
They're
they
not all the
specifically
same.
found either on the grass or the roadway area?
Grass.
Asphalt or grass is basically what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, grass area.
And with regard to each of those items that were recovered on those three successive dates,
Like the Tokyo Central that's out in the east side. I forgot what it's called, like in Rosemead or something. Sucks.
as far as February 8th, 11th, and 18th,
And they
did
don't
you
have
bring
food court.
those items with you to court today as well?
I did.
Yeah, Coach Ron.
Yes.
So, you could back from the session, if I could ask you to please open the bag with respect to February 8th first.
It's like juicy, crunchy, like, oh, it's so
Before you
good.
do
And
that,
it's
I
chicken
apologize.
breast.
Tail like one large piece of plastic, 34.
All right, so a bunch of taillight pieces. We're just going to take them out of the bag.
If I could ask you, 11th.
Just
Taillight
been
pieces.
in the air container.
So
I don't need a
Taillight pieces. Do we need to open all these? More taillight pieces.
Regard
Taillight
to-
pieces. Taillight
Almost
pieces.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And
Yes.
now, if I could turn your attention just briefly regarding the search warrants in regard to the ring video from Mr. O'Keefe's house. Was that one search warrant or more than one search warrant that you did in respect to those ring videos?
There was a second search warrant for the ring videos for Mr. O'Keefe's house.
And if you recall, what was the general time frame that was asked for in that warrant as far as from what date to what date?
The second one, I believe, was January 30th to the 3rd or the 4th, I believe.
Or was the first one essentially from the 24th to the 29th?
Yes.
Now, with respect to the video that you received in regard to the first search warrant to Ring, what kind of information did you receive from Ring as far as what beyond sort of the video itself? What, if any, other information did you receive as far as accounts or activity or anything like that?
It was just confirming that the user account was under Mr. O'Keefe's email
So since people already don't trust Proctor, like I said, like, do we get to hear from like the ring people or nah? Like the ring people, and then maybe like some other experts that saw the footages.
And then there was an Excel file where you kind of have to transcribe. So that each video has about a 17-digit number associated with it, unique identifier. You take that 17-digit number and you got to convert it using these Excel files to get the date and time.
Now, with respect to what you received pursuant to the search warrant from Ring, was there any kind of activity log? What I mean by that, what, if any, information did you receive as far as what sort of devices or how many different devices were able to access that footage?
Yeah, I wasn't able to obtain a activity log of who was using the device, what device was accessing the system. Something, if someone logged in, was not provided with any record of who was logging in on what day or time.
Now, are you familiar with the term, just as far as videos are concerned, or electronic devices, what's referred to as a digital footprint?
Yes.
Now, with respect to some of these, or the Ring videos in totality that you received and that you also viewed pursuant to the app on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, were there certain time periods where you would have expected to see video in which there was no?
Yes.
And can you describe for the jury sort of when those time periods were?
So the Ring camera above Mr. O'Keefe's garage is pretty sensitive, so it does not have Miss Reed arriving back at Miss.
Oh, I forgot about that. You could also set sensitivity levels too. You can set sensitivity levels. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know about like the one that's in the Sally port. But with the Ring one, yeah, you can set sensitivity levels, and then you can set certain zones as well. Forgot about that.
Mr. O'Keefe's house around 12:34 a.m. is approximately was when she should have arrived. The only video, there's a gap from approximately 11:45 p.m. on the 28th to about 5:07 a.m. on the 29th when Miss Reed's backing out and never has her pulling into the garage. And there's also a second video of Miss Roberts, Miss McCabe, and Miss Reed looking at the broken taillight in the morning.
What, if any, follow-up or inquiry did you make of Ring in regard to those missing videos?
I inquired several different times as far as if a video is deleted, is there some type of a record?
Mm-hmm. That was his inquiry, but next question, I'll allow that.
Now,
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, is there a way to find out, what happens to deleted footages, and then does it show that there's activity that something got deleted?
as far as that term that you used before, as far as a digital imprint, can you explain to the
Very
jury what you
safe.
understand that term to mean?
Essentially, a digital footprint is if a video is created, it's going to leave some type of a record in the archives.
And what, if any, information did you receive from Ring as far as their videos system is concerned in regard to a digital footprint?
Objection.
Not what anybody told you, but what you received.
That if a video is deleted,
Objection.
The objection sustained.
Move to strike.
We're going to strike that.
Upon your further inquiry,
Back a little bit.
videos system is concerned in regard to a digital footprint,
Objection.
Not what anybody told you, but what you received.
Oh, okay, got it.
where you anticipate a video would be.
no.
January 16th, 2024. Do you recall that date?
I do not, sir.
At some point over the course of your investigation, were you made aware of
Oh, the cheek swabs?
forensic evidence in relation to the taillight housing that was introduced earlier as an exhibit?
Yes.
And with respect to that, at some point, did you have occasion to meet with a Sergeant Brian Gallerani of the Needham Police Department?
Yes.
And where was that?
In the DA's office.
And who, if anyone else, involved in this investigation as far as yourself, was Sergeant Mechanic with you there as well?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did Sergeant Gallerani do with respect to yourself and Sergeant Mechanic on that date in January of 2024?
Sergeant Mechanic and I voluntarily provided our DNA for comparison testing.
And again, taking me to my next point, that was a voluntary decision that both you and Sergeant Mechanic made as far as availing yourself or availing of that particular testing.
Correct.
And as far as the testing, or this, do you know how that was, or can you describe to the jury sort of how that sample was collected or how it was conducted?
Essentially, it's just a swab of the mouth under the tongue with it's basically just like a little pad on a stick, and you get swabbed,
Ooh.
and that's how the DNA or saliva is collected.
And as far as those samples that were collected from both
Anyone else having really bad allergies this year? Dude, I don't know. My respiratory system sucks. It sucks so much.
yourself and Sergeant
Right
Mechanic
now.
on that particular day,
It's annoying.
where did they go from there as far as you know?
It was my understanding, went to the Bodie lab in Virginia.
And I'm sorry, but I should have asked prior to that, as far as when they left from the room that you were in with Sergeant Gallerani, did you take those swabs, or did Sergeant Gallerani take those swabs,
No.
or where did they go?
Sergeant Gallerani took possession of those items.
Thank you.
A lot of names that I don't know how to spell. Gallerani?
Your investigation, you interviewed a number of different witnesses, correct?
Yes.
And from the witnesses that you, were there witness interviews that were conducted outside of your presence in the sense that you weren't there for those particular witness interviews?
Yes.
And each of the interviews that you're aware of, whether they were conducted by you or outside of your presence, were done, with the exception of the current ones, done with more than one trooper present, correct?
Correct.
Now, with respect to
I wonder if they wear body cams now, because it would probably be good to have them.
witness interviews that you were present for, from the witnesses that you spoke with, along with other troopers that were present with you, who, if any of those witnesses, had you met, or were you did you know prior to the interview that you conducted?
Yeah, so all the witnesses that I interviewed, the only individuals that I know or met prior to this investigation was Julie, Chris Albert, and Colin Albert.
Okay.
And how is it that you knew Julie Albert, Christopher Albert, and Colin?
So my sister coordinated her friend growing up, Jillian. Jillian's sister is Julie. My sister got to know Julie Albert, Julie Daniels, her maiden name, through her friend Jillian. Julie married Chris Albert. So my sister got to know Chris through Jillian and Julie. And then years down the road, my sister...
The fuck? That was so confusing. Sorry, let me slow it down. There's so many names. Okay.
was Julie, Chris Albert, and Colin Albert.
Okay. Sister
And how
Colin.
is it that you knew Julie Albert, Christopher Albert, and Colin?
So my sister coordinated her friend growing up, Jillian. Jillian's sister's Julie. My sister got to know Julie Albert, Julie Daniels, her maiden name, through her friend Jillian. Julie married Chris Albert.
Oh my God, wait. Okay. His sister Courtney is friends with Jillian. Jillian's sister is Julie. Julie's the one that married Chris Albert, right?
So my sister got to know Chris through Jillian and Julie. And then years down the road, my sister had Julie babysit my nephew. Julie would come from time to time and pick up my nephew from school. So that's how they kind of became friendly. And on occasion, they would be over my sister's house or at my parents' backyard, Julie and Chris and their kid Colin, and I would happen to be there.
Let me ask it this way, as far as...
I'm actually surprised that Lolly's like getting ahead of this. I thought he was just going to let him just burn on the stand.
where did you grow up?
Canton.
And did you...
Matt, Jen, and two others. Yes. So we did a street view. There is no street lamp where John's body was found. There is a street lamp by the mailbox, though. But the jury, when they went to go view 34 Fairview, they went there during daylight. It'd be interesting to see how it looks during nighttime to see if the street lamp indeed does illuminate where John's body was found. I'm thinking maybe not. But there was someone in the back seat who was looking towards the direction of John, and she said that she thought she saw like a black blob. But there were issues with her because she said she was really drunk. She said it, but no one really heard it, and they kind of just like moved on to the next topic. But my thing was, why didn't you tell law enforcement when you knew there was a body found on the lawn? Right? I don't know. So that wasn't mentioned until like months later. And I think she wasn't interviewed until like months later. But yeah, I don't know.
You graduated from Canton High School?
Yes.
And as far as any of the witnesses that you interviewed, even the Alberts that you were just talking about, Christopher, Julian, and Colin Albert, were they around the same ages as you or went to high school with you at the same time?
No.
How much older than you would Julie and Chris Albert?
At least 10 years.
And as
10
far as
years?
Colin Albert, what's the age difference between yourself and him?
Wait, what? He looks younger than them. How much older than you? Oh, okay. So he's younger than them by 10 years. Got it. Okay. The way that was asked was kind of weird. Okay.
Or went to high school with you at the same time?
No.
How much older than you would Julie and Chris Albert?
At least 10 years.
And as far as Colin Albert, what's the age difference between yourself and him?
At least 20.
Fair to say around this time of January 2022, do you know how old Colin was or what level of school he was at that point?
Senior high school, I believe.
Is that something that you learned through this investigation or something that you knew independently?
Something I learned through this investigation.
Now, obviously, you grew up in Canton and your sister did as well?
Yes.
And your sister's name is Courtney, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the age difference between yourself
Yeah,
and
because Courtney's probably an older sister then.
your sister?
She's 2 years older than me.
And
2 years.
how close are you and your sister?
She's probably one of my best friends. We talk about 5-6 times a day about anything and everything as far as like mostly our children.
And she has, how many children does your sister have?
You got 2.
And about how old are they?
10 and 7.
And you have children as well?
I do.
And how old are they?
2 and 4.
Now,
Young babies.
with respect to the conversation that you have with your sister about 5 or 6 times a day, how do you have those conversations? Is it via voice call or in person?
Maybe he's not in his 40s then. Maybe he's like around my age. Late 30s? Early 40s maybe?
Or text, or if you know?
Everything, FaceTime, phone calls, text messages. We're always kind of keeping each other up to date on mainly our kids.
Now, as far as Julie and Christopher Alberts, when did you interview them in relation to this incident?
Sometime in February. I'd have to look at my report for the exact date.
Sometime in, say, early to mid-February?
Yes.
And with respect to them, who, if anyone else, was present with you when you interviewed?
Sergeant Buchanan.
And do you recall where the interview took place?
Yes, I was at their home.
Now, prior to this date that you went over to interview Christopher and Julie Albert, had you ever been over to that house before?
No.
Had you ever been over to any home where Christopher and Julie Albert had resided then or previously prior to that date?
No.
Had Christopher or Julie Albert, to your knowledge, ever been over to your house?
No.
Now, with respect to Christopher and Julie Albert, and Colin Albert, will throw him in there as well, how would you sort of describe your relationship with them prior to January 29th, 2022?
I classify it as acquaintances.
All right, Mr. Lally, why don't we take our luncheon break?
He's 35 years old, maybe. That's possible. Wait, I guess we get a lunch break too, right? We get a stretch break. Not a lunch break, just a stretch break. All right, get up and stretch. Oh my God. Oh. Oh. Now make sure you stretch your hips. Do your calf stretches. I'm stretching my, what am I stretching right now? Right here? The hips? How's it going, good guy? How are you? Hello, hello.
So, jurors, before we begin, Mr. Lally, as you approach the podium there, when I tell you that I strike something from the record, I know I've told you before, that means you're not to consider it, okay?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, before we broke, we were talking a bit about Julie Albert and Christopher Albert, correct?
Yes.
So how would you describe your relationship, if any, between Julie Albert and Christopher Albert prior to January 29, 2020?
Loose acquaintances.
People that you knew through your sister, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to the occasions that you had said where you may have been at the same place at the same time, at a family function or something like that, over what period of time are we talking about, and about how many different instances of that occurred over those years?
Like I mentioned, they had never been at my house. It was either at my sister's home or at my parents' house. Over the course of maybe 10 years, I might have been at the same function half a dozen times.
And at those times that you were at the same function a half a dozen times or so, how much interaction would you have with either Christopher Albert or Julie Albert or even Colin Albert at those functions?
Just casual conversation, be cordial, and just typical conversations, you know, how's it going, things of that nature.
Now, with reference to these experiences or relationships, or lack thereof, that you have with Christopher and Julie Albert, what, if any, conversations did you have with your supervisors as far as superior officers within your unit in regard to this?
I explained the connection with my sister to the Albert family.
And who did you explain that to? Sir?
That would be Sergeant Buchanan, Lieutenant Fanning, and Detective Lieutenant Tully.
All right, Trooper, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up, maybe approach the microphone a little closer.
And just with respect to those disclosures, what specifically did you tell either Sergeant Buchanan, Lieutenant Fanning, or Lieutenant Tully?
Basically, that the Alberts are my sister's friends. That I've been at some functions with them, and the only kind of connection with the Albert family is through my sister.
And just when you say the Alberts, as far as who specifically within the Alberts are you talking about that had a friendship with your sister?
Julie, Chris, and their son Colin.
Now, with regard to the investigation that you were conducting and the interviews that you conducted, what, if any, impact did those relationships have with regard to your interviews of them specifically, or the investigation in total?
Zero. Absolutely zero impact on this investigation.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
In the course of
Or are these the text messages?
your investigation over the course of this case, you're aware that there were iCloud data that was obtained from your personal cell phone,
Yes.
and different text strings from that iCloud data from your personal cell phone, correct?
Correct.
And with respect to what has just been placed before you, is that an excerpt or piece from those particular messages?
It is.
And from the front page of that, can you tell the jury who are sort of the participants in this particular text communication?
The several
Group text?
numbers that aren't identified. The three that are under kind of nicknames me and my buddies have for each other.
And generally speaking, just as far as the participants in this text communication, who are these people to you and how do you know them? How long have you known them? Who are they?
The members on this text thread are close friends from junior high, first grade even.
Oh, God. Was he on a text thread with his friends giving, like, information about the case that he's investigating?
So people you've known for years, is that correct?
Correct.
And do each of them
I
live,
wonder if one of them snitched on him.
or do any of them live within the general area at this time?
Some of them do, yes.
And so when some of them do, some of them do not, is that correct?
Correct.
And the ones that do not, how far away do they live?
As far away as Tennessee.
Now, with reference to this, there's an indication as far as the first message sent or last message sent.
Hey, Hydrosphere. I don't know anything about Young Thug's trial stuff. Did you see Young Thug's lawyers were held in contempt because they wouldn't reveal their source of the judge and the prosecutor meeting a sworn-in witness in a meeting, looking like a mistrial?
From this particular text chain, correct?
Sorry, repeat the question, please.
Sort of towards the middle of the first page.
I mean, Yannetti was talking about the nudes thing, so I knew it was going to be bad.
I'll direct your attention to that area. Is there any indication as far as the first message sent and the last message sent with respect to this
Should I slow it down a bit? I'll slow it down a bit.
text chain?
On the first page, yes.
And what is indicated as far as the first message and the last message?
The first message is, I need to brandish a gun more often. The last is, Chip, name of that BPD cop.
No, I'm sorry, sir. If I could direct your attention to the first page in this packet, page 2527.
Can we just see it on the screen?
You see conversation details. Sorry, may I go?
Yes.
Sure.
Direct your attention to the right. Okay. Date and time and the last message sent, date and time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is the first message sent, date and time?
It's 10/18 of 2021 at 8:48 a.m. The last message sent is 8/31/2022 at 11:19 p.m.
And is there also within that conversation details an indication as far as number of messages over that time frame within this communication?
There is.
And what is it?
I'll slow it down because I'm trying to write everything that they're saying. So I'll slow it down.
The last message, 2021 at 8:48 a.m. The last message sent is 8/31/2022 at 11:19 p.m.
And is there also within that conversation details an indication as far as number of messages over that time frame within this communication?
There is.
And what does it list for number of messages?
It's 38,707.
The fuck?
Fair to say the packet that you have before you does not contain all 38,707 messages, correct?
That's correct.
No.
The first message that you had, I believe, alluded to in reference to the first one listed within this communication, what date and time is that?
That was January 29th, 2022 at 10:36 p.m.
And who is that message from?
My friend who lives in Tennessee.
And what, if anything, did he send to the group?
I need to brandish a gun more often.
And if you know, what is that in reference to?
He just recently moved to Tennessee, and he was kind of, I think, making a joke as kind of.
Oh man, imagine having to explain your private group text message to everyone. Oh gosh.
The lifestyle down there where guns are more prominent or more common to be carried around there. So I interpreted that as a joke in that nature.
And the next message, sir, from that same page, 2527.
The next one is, it's bold.
And is there a name associated with that number that's in these?
No,
Do you know who that person is?
I don't.
And the next message, sir, from 10:52 p.m.
Chip, name of that BPD cop.
And Chip, who is that referring to, sir?
That is one of my nicknames I've had since maybe high school.
So a nickname that would be familiar amongst these group of friends in particular?
Yes.
And this time period when these text messages begin, sometime after 10:30 or 10:50 p.m. on January 29th, where are you and what are you doing in reference around that time period?
At this point in time, on the 29th, I'm home.
And that last text message, do you respond to that at approximately 10:53 p.m.?
Yes.
And what was your response?
John O'Keefe.
And the next message down from there, also at 10:53 p.m.?
Yes. He took custody of his sister's kids.
That's your response. There's another response above that, is that correct?
Yes.
And what does that say?
How old?
And you respond as far as he took custody of his sister's kids, correct?
Correct.
Skipping down a couple, do you see an entry at 10:53:49 p.m.?
Yes.
And that's from a 617 number, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the response there?
Oh man, that's rough.
And following that, do you respond to the earlier query as far as age?
I do.
And what did you say?
Mid-40s.
Now, the next message below that, as far as indication of mid-40s, what is that?
His age.
No, I understand that. I'm sorry. The next message underneath that, sir.
I'm sorry. It's a Facebook link.
And do you recall what that Facebook link is to?
It's to John O'Keefe.
And is that something you sent or one of your friends sent?
One of my friends sent.
And the next message below, turning to now page 2529 at the top there, what is the next message that's sent?
What's that? Don't have the book anymore.
And as far as the book, what did you understand that to mean?
Facebook.
May we approach?
Sure.
Could we just see the messages? Please? It'll be easier. I think they have another recess. Yeah, they got another little recess thing.
Google
Got
users'
some fan
privacy
action
through their
going on. Okay, they're back in court. I guess to do some sidebars.
That's your mind.
Proceed, Your Honor.
Yes.
Trooper, if I could direct you back to page 2529 within that packet before you. And below that text stating what's that, I don't have the book anymore. You respond, is that correct?
Yes.
And what is it that you say there?
This one is a nightmare. Forget about the kids. That's awful.
And sir, if I could direct your attention again within that same packet to 2532. And there's a message there sent at 10:56 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who's that from?
A friend who lives in Tennessee.
And what does he say in that text?
I'm sure the owner of the house will receive some shit.
And you respond at 10:56 as well as 10:57. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is it that you respond?
My first response was nope. Homeowner is a Boston cop too.
And what, if anything, were you saying, or what was the purpose of that text in regard to the homeowner?
I was just letting him know that essentially Mr. O'Keefe is a Boston cop and the homeowner was a Boston cop as well.
Now, if I could turn your attention to 2533. And top
I
of the
thought
page,
that was worded differently. Maybe it comes up later on.
sir, if you could read through that page as far as who's
I thought it was
texting
worded like, no, the homeowner won't catch anything because he's a Boston cop.
and what are they saying?
Again, for my friend from Tennessee and myself, I hope not, but I can't see it. I responded with, she waffled him. I looked at his body at the hospital. He was banged up.
Now, as far as the next text from a 781 number, what does that say?
Did he get beat up?
And you responded to that, is that correct?
I did.
The objection is sustained as to form.
What, if any, response did you provide to that?
Nope.
Objection. The objection was to the former question and the answer.
I'll strike it.
Now, turning your attention to 2534.
So this is their conversation from that night. At first I was like, going through these text messages can look really bad for him. Is Lolly doing it to get ahead? You know? Just to get ahead of it, get ahead of the story, I guess, and try to get Proctor to explain it. But Lolly's other angle could just be like, oh, see, from the very beginning, he already thought that it was Karen who did it. Why lie in the private text messages?
And from this page, sir, if you could again just read through his.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. I feel like Lolly, there's so many times when Lolly could have got ahead of things and he just didn't. So now I'm like, okay, Lolly's trying to get ahead of things. Okay. He doing stuff.
As far as indicating to the jury who's speaking and what is being said.
From the start of the first text, so
time
the
is
owner
it?
of the house.
Yes.
So the owner of the house was a woman cop that beat him. That's what I initially thought after talking to Can paramedic. Then I saw the guy.
Let's just slow it back down.
So the owner of the house.
Yes.
So the owner of the house was a woman cop that beat him. That's what I initially thought after talking to Can paramedic. Then I saw the guy.
And those last two are your responses, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the following text messages are from your friends, is that correct?
Yes.
What do they say?
Bear, let's focus. What does she waffle to mean? What's the story? I responded, she hit him with her car.
And the she that you're referring to there, who is that?
Miss Reed.
Is that like a Boston thing? Waffle? I've never heard anyone say waffle before.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2535.
Like local
again,
dialect
if you
thing?
could start at the top of the page and read through that page. And just
Lolly's
indicate
just
to
bad
the
at
jury,
his job.
who is talking and what is being said.
Okay. My friend in Tennessee states, okay, that's fucked up. I respond, intentional or not. Then another response, gotcha. He was frozen in the driveway and she didn't see him, question mark. That's another animal we won't be able to prove. And then I respond, they arrived at the house together, gone to an argument.
I don't want to speak out loud or out of turn.
The objection's overruled.
Your Honor,
But
if I could say this, there needs to be an identifier of who's speaking.
I understand what you think the mix-up is. So, Mr. Lally,
Yeah, could we make it a lot clearer, please? I'm trying to figure out who's saying what here.
go back.
Thank you.
Sir, if you could please, again, start at the top of the page and just indicate.
No,
as you go-
just after the gotcha, he was frozen in the driveway, correct, Mr. Jackson?
That's correct, Your Honor. Thank you.
I respond, that's another animal we won't be able to prove. I follow that up. They arrived at the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left. 781 number responds with, what's the name of the Canton cop living in Canton? The other one involved.
Oh, that's not an animal we won't be able to prove. Okay.
Responds with an argument.
Because maybe
She was
initially he also thought it was an animal attack too.
prove. I follow that up. They
Thank you,
arrived at
she-
the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left. 781 number responds with, what's the name of the Canton cop living in Canton? The other one involved.
And how do you respond to that, sir?
There's several other messages before I issue a response.
Objection again. Bottom of the page.
So it's not an objection, but Mr. Lally, why don't you point him?
So, sir, at the bottom of page 2535, you have a response, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that response?
They arrived at the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left.
What? Did we already do that?
Objection.
So it's going to be a matter you can address on cross.
There has to be some accuracy with the reading.
So I understand. So, Mr. Lally, why don't you go point for your witness?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, we're not at the bad shit yet.
It's a HTML link, whiteout / Proctor iCloud / group chat Feb 2022. So you point out.
No. Lolly, get back up here.
Why don't you go show your witness?
Excuse me. You indicated Biff asking you about his bottom.
Tell us who you attribute it to.
Sure. So, sir, what I'm asking you about is the bottom of page 2535, excuse me, 26.
Hi, Dave.
2535. You indicated biffed him, correct?
Correct.
What did you mean by that?
That Miss Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
What you indicated?
That
Correct? 2535. You indicated biffed him, correct?
You indicated what?
2535. You indicated biffed him, correct?
correct.
I don't know what he said.
What did you mean by that?
That Miss Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2537.
2537.
Now, do you see a response toward the bottom of the page from yourself, January 29, 2022 at 11:04 p.m.?
Yes.
And can you read that response for the jury?
Yeah, but there'll be some. Yes.
And can you, January 29,
11:04 p.m.
Yeah, but there'll be some serious charges brought on the girl.
And what did you mean by that, sir?
That throughout the course of the day, we had compelling evidence that Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
And you have two responses from friends, the same friends at the bottom of that page, 2537. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what are those?
Did Lolly say biffed him? I don't know. I have no idea what he said. I couldn't understand.
Friends at the bottom of that page, 2537. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what are those responses?
Keep your voice up loud, please. Trooper Proctor, jurors can't hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. Number ending in 5051. Got to be, I can only imagine what internal affairs of the BPD are trying to get out there. The second response, same number. She hot at least.
Oh, God. Gotta be, can only imagine what internal affairs, BPD.
Second response, same number. She hot at least. Get out there. The second response, internal affairs of the BPD are trying to get out there. The second response, same number. She hot at least.
And turning your attention to the next page, 2538, at the top, if you could just read a series of responses from yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
Read from those, sir.
Yep, so these came from me. From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job. CUNT.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to. So
Say
these are
cunt.
your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Cunt. Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. Though. No ass.
And, sir, what is it that
God, dude, he has to read this in court. Oh, God. I'm trying to type this out.
The babe. Weird Fall River accent, though.
Weird Fall River accent, though?
Though. No ass.
No ass.
And, sir, what is it that you were referring to there, or why would you text that?
These were, from all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong, is talking about the homeowner, Mr. Albert. I had mentioned the compelling evidence against Miss Reed at this point indicated that Mr. Albert had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death. The rest of the unprofessional and regrettable comments are something I'm not proud of, and I shouldn't have wrote in a private or any type of setting.
Like locker room talk, but in text messages.
Sir, at some point, if I could turn your attention to page 2540.
Hey, Patty, how are you doing today?
And there's a photograph that's shared within this text communication, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And does it indicate who shared that photograph? From the prior page, possible.
The number ending in 5051.
And who is depicted in that photograph that was shared within the group text?
It's Miss Reed being escorted out of the state police Milton Barracks.
And these are all from February 1st of 2022, around that time frame, is that correct?
Yes.
Who
Now,
took
sir,
the
if I could direct you
picture?
to page 2543. And sir, if I could direct you to the top of the page and ask you to read through that page, indicating who's speaking and what the content of those communications were.
Okay. Number ending in 4146. Question is that chick a smoke? Again, 4146 question mark. I respond EH. I respond again, nut bag, as Chief would say. I also respond with, she's got a leaky balloon knot, leaks poo.
And what, if anything, is that in reference to? Sir?
Again, to misread some medical conditions there. Again, unprofessional comments I should not have made, that I'm not proud of.
I mean, he's doing the testimony of shame right now. You know, we got the walk of shame. Now we got the testimony of shame. He's got to read his text messages out loud for everyone. Oh, God.
As far as attitudes expressed within these text messages and other text messages, what, if any, impact did that have as far as your investigation was concerned regarding this?
These juvenile, unprofessional comments have zero impact on the facts and the evidence and the integrity of this investigation. They said these are unprofessional comments, but they absolutely do not detract from the integrity of the investigation or the facts and evidence of it.
Now, may I approach this retreat?
Yes.
But we haven't gotten to the nudes part yet.
Now,
What am I
Trooper
listening to? He's the lead investigator for this case.
Contained within, you've seen text messages amongst yourself and a variety of
Like, I tend to be quite, I don't know, lenient, forgiving when it comes to people talking in their private group text messages or how they banter with their friends privately and stuff like that. It just looks really fucking bad, though. He's the lead investigator. They're talking about Karen Reed. He's making fun of her medical condition, saying she's got a leaky door knot, whatever. Like, this just looks so bad.
different people from that same sort of iCloud area of your personal phone, correct?
Correct.
And among those, are there communications that you had with members of the Kin Police Department?
Yes.
And how would you characterize, or what was the general content of communications that you had with members of the Kin Police Department?
One communication was to coordinate interview times for firefighters and police
Oh, that's it? That's it for the text messages? He's like, oh, thank God we're done with that.
officers and to set up a conference room where those interviews could be conducted. Obviously, the presence of Canton detectives or any police officers are not going to be sitting in on these interviews. Another communication was to inquire of relevant security videos that are in the area. Their local department, they know the area very well, so I reached out and asked if there's some good cameras in the area that I had of kind of interest in.
Okay, I think we're just moving on from the text messages. Okay, wait until the defense gets to it. I'm sure there'll be more.
Yes.
Recognize that to be, sir?
Text communications between my sister and I.
Oh, more text messages. Okay. Text messages with Sister Courtney. Hopefully these will be better. I would assume probably no or maybe less locker room talk.
That's your sister Courtney, is that correct?
That's correct.
And
They're best friends,
similar
though.
to what I'd asked you about the prior packet as far as a first message sent, date and time, last message sent, date and time, what is indicated on this first page?
First message sent, date, time, December 10th, 2021 at 9:33 p.m. Last message sent, 8:30, 2022 at 8:48 p.m.
And 8:30, that's August 30th, is that correct?
I'm sorry, yes, August 30th, 2022.
And similarly to the other messages, is there an indication as far as how many number of messages were sent between yourself and your sister over that time period?
2,865.
And fair to say that the documents in front of you do not contain 2,865 messages?
Correct.
Now, just in reference to the first message on page 2662, the first page in this.
Commentator for Cincinnati Reds apologizing for a hot mic incident. I don't think I ever heard of it before. What happened there?
packet. Do you see that from December 10th of 2021 at approximately 9:33 p.m.?
Yes.
And what does that indicate?
A text message from my sister.
And what does it say?
I called earlier, Dolph earlier, and Mom was puking in the background.
And do you recall what that was in regard to?
From the sounds of it, my mother had the stomach bug.
I guess it sounds better to have someone read the text messages and to see with their own eyes.
And sir, if I could direct your... And these are text messages from January 29th, 2022, between yourself and your sister Courtney, correct?
Correct.
And if you could read from the top of the page through the end, and please indicate to the jury as far as who's talking and who's saying what.
So I texted my sister at work, "What's up?" She responds, "What? Why?" I respond, "Or just found it frozen to death on a front lawn in Canton this morning. Actually just interviewed Jen McCabe, said she knows you."
And the knows you, who are you referring to?
My sister.
And how did your sister respond to that?
Cut the shit. I responded, "You." There was a typo correction with my response to you. She responded, "Yeah, she knows Jack very well. She's really good friends with Julie." My sister continues on. Her sister is married to Brian Albert. My sister asks, "You still working?" ? I says, yeah, gonna be out for a while. Homicide.
And as far as your answers to those questions, or as far as your communications that you had with your sister at this time on the afternoon of
Grits.
January 29th, what were those in regard to, or why were you communicating that to your sister?
At that time, it was just kind of in the news. I was just kind of letting her know I was out working. She didn't share anything specific. I wouldn't share anything specific on cases with my family or anyone. It was just kind of an overall innocent conversation.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2669. Again, if you could read from that page as far as who was talking and what the content is.
All right.
What was that?
Again, if you could read from that page.
So off the Canton thing is a homicide. I respond. This is at 3 in the afternoon on the 29th. Don't say a word to anyone. She said, "Of course not." I respond, in the very least, it's suspicious. She responds, "This is your livelihood." And then I would never miss with that. 3:07, I respond, "Julie and Chris were at the bar with the victim and girlfriend. Got to interview them."
I'd like to direct your attention to page 2672.
Did I write that right? So I'm just trying to write this.
I'd like to direct your attention to page 2672. Again, if you could read from that page as far as who was talking, what the content is.
All right. My sister starts off, "The Canton thing is a homicide." I respond, "This is at 3 in the afternoon on the 29th. Don't say a word to anyone." She said, "Of course not." I respond, "In the very least, it's suspicious." She responds, "This is your livelihood." And then I would never miss with that. 3:07, I respond,
It's your livelihood. I would never mess with that. Okay. Remember, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Is this when they were on their way to Karen Reed's, or they got to Karen Reed's parents' house?
Julie and Chris were at the bar with the victim and girlfriend. Got it.
With the victim and girlfriend.
Interview them.
Okay.
Page 2672. These are messages from February 1st, 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the one at the top starts about February 1st, 5:57 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could read through as far as who's speaking and what the content of those messages are.
I texted my sister, "What's up?" She responded, "Nothing. I just saw Julie, and she said when this is all over, she wants to get you a thank you gift." And I respond, "Get Elizabeth one." Elizabeth's my wife. And my sister responds, "Because I guess her and Chris were friends with John, and she's so proud of you for leading this." And then she writes, "Elizabeth, question mark?" I respond with, "She's been stuck with the kids for the last 10 nights. My sister responded with, "Yeah, but she knew what life is like married to a cop."
And sir, as far as the gift that's mentioned, as far as Julie Albert, is that anything that you have received at any point in time?
I never received a gift. I never asked for a gift. My wife never received a gift. She never asked for a gift.
So how would you describe this context of this conversation, or why that's being discussed at this time?
Again, I don't know
When I first heard about the gifting, I was like, okay, that could kind of sound weird. But I don't know, these text messages, I don't know. I can see how it could go both ways, but I don't think it's that bad.
thought process of my sister and Julie as far as bringing that idea of a gift into play. Like I said, I didn't ask for one. I never received one. The same with my wife.
Sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2676. As far as who is saying, who is speaking and what they're talking.
I start out, we write like 8 to 12 warrants on each case. My sister responded, "No, I have no idea what the hell you do or how it works." I responded on the 10th at 7:36 p.m. "I'm starving, but I also just want to go home. Thanks, though." My sister responds, "Yeah, but is dinner going to be waiting?" She responded with, "Ha, ha, ha." And then I responded, "Yep." And then my sister responded with, "Okay, it's fine. Mom and I just don't want to go home."
At least the text messages with the sister aren't saying inappropriate shit about Karen Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And another document, sir, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that?
This is private messages between my wife and I.
Oh, gosh.
Again, what is your wife's name?
Elizabeth.
And what, if anything, does that indicate as far as dates and times and
I
number
wonder
of
if Elizabeth is pissed.
messages involved?
Okay, so the first message sent 5/20/2022 at 6:19 p.m. The last message sent 8/31/2022 at 9:16 p.m. 5/20/2022 at 6.
5/20/2022. 5/20/2022. Is that right? Okay, I'll just write it down.
19 p.m. The last message sent 8/31/2022 at 9:16 p.m.
And what, if any, indication does it give as far as number of messages within that?
Why is it all the way in May, I guess?
Text chain.
1,632.
And of those 1,162, there's one message that's listed on that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the date and time of that message, and what does it say, and who's speaking?
This is me speaking on June 9th, 2022 at 4:56 p.m. I text my wife, waiting to lock this whack job up.
And what are you referring to in that text, sir?
I'm referring to the arrest after Ms. Reed was indicted by the grand jury.
And again, as far as the terminology that you use in that text message to your wife, why is that?
Again, unprofessional messages I should not have sent. I don't have an explanation other than they're regrettable and it's something I'm not proud of, the language I used.
I approach to retrieve your.
Yes. So, Trooper Proctor, the jurors can't hear you. So speak directly into your microphone the way I'm doing, okay?
Wait, are the jurors telling the judge that they can't hear? I wonder how much of this trial can they not fucking hear? Can they like do something about this instead of just telling people to speak up louder? Can they do something else about this?
Your Honor.
I mean, honestly, I think he should just go up there and just be like, you know, I don't regret with how I communicated. These are my private messages with people who are close to me. You know, my wife, my friends. Now, should I have really been saying things about Karen Reed and being that mean? Yeah, probably not. You know, a good person wouldn't do that. Should I be leaking about certain things about this investigation or talking about it? Probably not.
Conversations. Now, Trooper Proctor, you're familiar with conversations that's within the same.
She told him to raise the hand. Okay, got it. Because before I thought the judge was just thinking for the jury, and if she thought that maybe it wasn't loud enough, she would speak for them and tell them to speak louder. But if the jury keeps raising their hands, saying they can't hear, I don't know. Can they just do something about this courtroom setup then? Besides turning off the AC? Is there a way to have some technician to go in there and boost the microphones or something?
Same text communications from your personal phone with colleagues of yours at the state police?
Yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Who is this a picture of on the laptop? Who are we looking at here?
On the language used in the January 29th and February 1st or 2nd text communications among your friend group. With reference to that particular time frame in the language that you used, what sort of information had you gathered to that point, and why would you say or use that particular language in particularly in your descriptions of the defendant?
So this is, 16, 18 hours later, and we conducted multiple interviews.
Speak up.
Conducted multiple interviews. We knew Mr. O'Keefe never went into Fairview Road. We knew there was one shoe at the scene, one shoe at the hospital. Based off Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, Miss Reed's statements when Sergeant Buchanan and I interviewed her.
Oh, we must be wrapping up direct examination.
Broken
right?
taillight, the missing taillight, some taillight pieces found at the scene, the compelling evidence pointing directly at Miss Reed that she struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle led me to make those comments. Whether, like I said, they weren't professional comments, but based on the day's investigation, it was clear that Miss Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Sir, if I could turn your attention to the documents before you, do you recognize those?
I do.
And as far as the participants in that particular conversation, who were the participants listed there?
It's Trooper David DeChico and myself.
And Trooper DeChico and yourself both work within the same unit with the state police, is that correct?
That's correct.
And beyond the professional relationship you have with yourself, between yourself and Trooper DeChico, how would you characterize your relationship, generally speaking?
We're buddies, we go all together, hang outside of work, our kids play together, so I'd say, we're friends.
Now, within the, again, as far as the first message sent, date and time, and last message sent, date and time within this conversation, if you could describe
Oh, he meant like, it's clear that after 16, 18 hours after they started their investigation, to them at that point, to him, he thought it was clear that she was the one that hit him with the vehicle and stuff.
After the jury.
First message sent, date
He's
and
not talking about the trial.
time, March 17th, 2022, 11:08 a.m. Last message sent, date and time, August 18th, 2022, 6:08, 11:08 a.m.
March 17. Okay, so more text message. Oh boy, well, let's hope that Chico does better in text messages than Mr. Proctor.
Last message sent, date and time, August 18th, 2022, 6:08 a.m.
And again, the number of messages listed within this text chain?
87.
And fair to say the documents before you do not contain 87 text messages, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Now, just in general terms, if you have an opportunity to just look at the first couple pages there, fair to say those are just sort of jokes that you have going back and forth between yourself and Trooper DeChico. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Oh, what kind of jokes?
Now, if I could turn your attention specifically to page 2632.
Come on, DeChico.
And these are text messages starting on April 28, 2022 at 10:52 in the morning. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the time again, sir?
April 28, 2022, 10:52 a.m.
Yes, correct.
And again, sir, with reference to this page, if you could read the content to the jury and please indicate who is speaking at each respective times.
Okay. I said out without a doubt, you get diarrhea of the mouth too. Trooper DeChico, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. I respond, Yuri and I had two.
Oh, wait, should I? Oops, sorry, let me slow it down.
Jury, and please indicate who is speaking at each respective times.
Okay. I said out without a doubt, he's got diarrhea of the mouth too. Trooper DeChico, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and
What?
Trooper DeChico, rookie move, not
Working move, not
going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. I respond, Yuri and I had two conference calls with her, sent her numerous photos, etc. We laid out the entire case for her. Trooper DeChico responds, not good enough, should have had me or Jeff do it. I respond, if you two did it.
Oh, were they having issues with the ME? Is that why we haven't called the ME yet?
Had two conference calls with her, sent her numerous photos, etc. We laid out the entire case for her. Trooper DeChico responds, not good enough, should have had me or Jeff do it. I respond, if you two did it, she would have made it accidental or natural causes.
And can you explain the context of those communications, or what exactly is it that
Is that why we haven't heard from the ME yet? What the fuck? Oh.
and Trooper DeChico are talking about in that communication?
Okay, so the ME is the medical examiner. They conducted the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe. Our office, it's kind of a little bit of a locker room.
Hold on, wait for the ambulance and then speak up. The jurors can't hear you way back where the court officer's standing.
Of Mr. O'Keefe. I guess I'll address the conference calls Sergeant Buchanan and I had with the medical examiner. The doctor had some questions as to the facts and evidence, kind of what had transpired, which is common. You know, even if it's a homicide, I've had many calls with the medical examiner's office. Even if it's a suicide or overdose, always with a homicide, the doctor wants to know what transpired. Trooper DeChico and myself, we kind of like to bust each other's chops, go back and forth. So that's what he meant by saying, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. The original determination came back.
Sustained. Next question, Mr. Melly.
Yeah, that's out.
Now, as far as attending the autopsy, is that something that typically someone within your office would do, within your unit would do with regard to any sort of death investigation?
Yes.
And do you know who attended the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe in this specific case?
Trooper O'Keefe.
And so as far as Trooper DeChico's reference to you not going in, or Sergeant Buchanan not going in, is that what you believe Trooper DeChico was referring to in that message?
Objection.
Sustained as to the form.
You indicated that...
I mean, after him, we have to hear from the ME, right? Don't tell me we're going to go to DeChico next. Let's just go to the ME.
when Trooper DeChico busted each other's chops. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And can you describe a little more, expound upon that as far as the nature of your relationship and sort of the text messages that you exchange in this and any other communications that you have?
Basically, just kind of needling each other, and him doing that is by saying, texting me, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the medical examiner. So that's a perfect example of him kind of just needling me, which we do on a daily basis.
And as far as your interpretation of that, did you interpret that as a serious comment or something said in jest?
I interpreted that as a typical joke from Trooper DeChico.
May I approach the retreat?
Yes.
And Trooper DeChico.
And again, what is the first message sent, date and time, last message sent, date and time, and number of messages contained therein?
First message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022 at 1:09 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022, 4:45 p.m.
And the number of messages, sir?
4.
And if you could read the contents of those messages contained therein.
Okay.
Please indicate who's speaking.
So I started out, of course it's undetermined. She was a whack job.
What does that mean?
Trooper Chico responds, "Dear God, WTF, what the hell is inconclusive about the whole thing?"
And as far as your indication there, as far as she was a whack job, who are you referring to there?
Miss Reed.
Now, as far as the undetermined of what you're talking about, what is sort of the content or the context of this conversation?
That would be the manner of death was determined to be undetermined by the medical.
Listen, if you can help it, don't ever put yourself in a situation where you fuck up so badly that your text messages get revealed to the entire world, okay?
Examiner's office.
And so I ask you again, as far as your reference there in the bottom of the first page, as far as she was a whack job, whom do you believe you're referring to there?
Again,
Reed or the medical exam?
Miss Reed.
Oh, I thought it would be against the medical examiner. Like, oh, of course the medical examiner said it's undetermined. She's a whack job.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
You're gonna go to jail if your shit leaks?
On this packet.
Yeah, because why would it matter? So it's like, of course it's determined she was a whack job. I just don't understand how that would tie to Karen Reed.
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread between myself, Trooper DeChico, and Trooper Kokowski.
And Trooper Kaskowski is another trooper within your unit in the state police, is that correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could read from the first message sent, date and time, and the last message sent, date and time.
First message sent, date and time, 5/24/2022, 9:21 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/24/2022, 4:56 p.m.
Hey,
And as far as the
Mad Hatter, thank you so much for the 5. I've been watching you for a while. Only started talking recently. Think you're hilarious. Think he did mean the Emmy this time. I think so too. It would make more sense if he meant the Emmy and not Karen Reed, right? But but thank you so much for your support, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chat.
number of messages
appreciate that.
indicated within this text chain between yourself, Trooper Kakowski.
Wait, Corky, have you gotten to the pause moment yet? No, what's the pause? Oh, wait, the pause, which one? With Lolly? That might have happened like way earlier.
And Trooper DeChico.
494.
Fair to say the documents before you do not contain 494 text messages, correct?
Correct.
Just in reference to that first page 2635, first message sent, that's May 24th, 2022, around 9:21 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
And that's a message sent from Trooper Kaskowski, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that?
Appears to be a picture of a toy Santa Claus.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2644.
And this would have been a couple days after Karen was indicted by the grand jury. No worries. I love your work. I should be shown that to you, and your time is appreciated. Thanks. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much.
If I could direct you to the bottom of the page, sir, and see the text from yourself at June 9th, 2022 at 11:19 p.m.
Yes.
Very bottom of the page. And Your Honor, may I approach just to point it out?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it, sir.
If you could read what you wrote on June 9th, 2022, around that time, sir.
If you like women who shit themselves.
And again, sir, what is it that you're referring to there?
Oh,
Again,
God. He's got to explain this.
Regrettable comment I made about Miss Reed's medical condition.
Now, if I could direct you to the following page, 2645.
Oh, with him? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
And again, if you could read from that page as far as who is, and indicate to the jury who is speaking and what is being said on page 2645.
I'm speaking right now. The statement she made tonight at 8/7 was mental. Thank Christ it was on BWC, which is body worn camera. Trooper Kukowski responds, that's her. Smoke.
Wait, there's body worn. What? Because we haven't.
Who is speaking and what is being said on page 2645.
I'm speaking right now. The statement she made tonight at 8/7 was mental.
At 8/7, the statement she made tonight. The statement she made. Is that when she did her interview? I don't know. This is at age 7. I don't know what the fuck. It's not right though.
Thank Christ it was on BWC, which is body
Thank Christ it was on. Where's the BWC then?
worn camera. Trooper Kukowski responds, that's her. Smoke. Trooper Kukowski again, what'd she say? I respond, said the Alberts beat the shit out of O'Keefe, left him for dead, and that's why her taillight was cracked. She's gross.
Oh, is that the. Okay, that was like a horrible audio that like kind of sucked.
Trooper DeChico, and that's why her taillight was cracked. She's gross. Trooper DeChico, oh, fuck her, bitch.
Thank you, sir. May I approach to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, with
I
reference
wish we could get the entirety of it, unless that's all Karen said and they end it there.
to that last bit, as far as June 9th, 2022, what was going on that day in reference to this matter again?
Miss Reed was being processed at the Milton Barracks.
Thank you. I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Oh man, Lolly.
What do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread with members from my office, troopers.
Oh geez.
And who are the troopers that are listed within that?
Trooper Chris Moore, Trooper Jeff Kukowski, Lieutenant John Fanning, Trooper Dave DeChico, and Sergeant Yuri Buchanan.
And what is the first message sent, date and time?
That would be 5/26/2022 at 8:19 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/26/2022, 5:36 p.m.
And what is listed as far as the number of messages within this chain?
651.
Lolly's trying to say like, do you see what I have to work with? Do y'all see what I have to work with?
And it's fair to say the documents before you do not contain all 651 of those messages within this chain. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now,
Okay, because I could be a little bit more lenient on his text messages with his friends and stuff like that, but now we're amongst the coworkers, the other officers, troopers who are investigating this case, who are involved in this case. I really want to know what's being said here.
sir, if I could direct your attention to
Why can't you
Page
see that Lolly's a
2682.
clown? Then you haven't listened to anything I've said. We've been talking a lot about Mr. Lolly. A lot of criticisms about
see a
him.
message sent from Trooper DeChico on August 17th, 2022 at 9:42 p.m.
Yes.
And is 2022 at 9:42 p.m.
Yes.
And is that an image contained on the next page, which is 2683?
Yes, it is.
And what is the image of?
That is a picture of Mr. Yannetti. Appears to be from quite some time ago.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2684. And there's a response from you, August
I've made
17,
a lot of comments about Mr.
2022 at
Lally.
9:44 p.m.
A
Is
lot
that
of
correct?
comments about him from the very beginning. Just show us the
Sorry,
text
so
messages.
the date and time again, please.
Sure. Page 2684, 8/17/2022, 9:44 p.m.
Yes,
You see there's like sort of three responses from you.
I have you now.
Reminder that tomorrow there's no court. This is what the jury is going to marinate with during their day off. I mean, we have like another, 42 minutes left? I don't think it gets any better from here.
If you could just read the three responses from yourself, sir.
Okay, so these came from me. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that man. I truly hate him.
Now, with reference to
Wait a second. This is him going through whose phone? I hate this man. I truly hate him. Is he talking about John or is he talking about Karen?
For me, funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that.
Oh, his. Okay. His retarded client's phone. He's talking about Yannetti. Okay.
Man, I truly hate him.
I hate the man. I truly hate him.
now, with reference to the investigation at this point, when you're talking about his client's phone, who are you referring to?
Miss Reed.
And with regards to the phone at that point, can you describe for the jury sort of what's going on during this time period of August 17, 2022 in regard to Ms. Reed's phone?
So after obtaining a search warrant for Miss Reed's phone, we weren't able to extract any data from it until August of 2023.
August 2023. Couldn't extract data.
Troopers in my office knew I was going through the phone that evening. I was most interested in location data, text messages, Google searches. That was the update I gave the troopers in the office. It was a
The nude stuff better not be in the group messages with his colleagues.
distasteful joke. I should have gave a proper update instead of that. I wasn't able to go through the phone as thoroughly as possible because I came across some a text between an attorney and Ms. Reed, so I had to stop going through her phone, and I made my supervisors aware of those communications.
Now, just in reference to what you had just said, this is in August of 2022, is that correct?
Correct.
So after a search warrant is obtained for the defendant's phone, where did it go? You indicated you gave it to Trooper Garino, and where did it go from there?
Trooper Garino essentially hooks it up to a device called Gray Key, where it tries every possible combination passcodes in order to access the data contained in the phone.
And at that time, when you retrieved it pursuant to the search warrant, you didn't have the passcode to the defendant's phone, is that correct?
Correct.
So that device is designed to sort of go through numbers and try to find a combination to get into the phone, correct?
Correct.
And so from the time that you had seized it in late January or on January 29th, 2022, until this date in August of 2022, had you been able to get into the phone or see anything in the phone in those intervening months or 7 months between January and August?
No.
And so then at this time that you're sending this text message
Wait, it took 7 months?
in August of 2022, is that around the time that you were first able to access the phone?
Objection.
Oh, look who just got on the couch. Look at this guy. That bougie little corgi.
I'll allow it.
Yes, that was the first time we were able to have access to the phone.
And with reference to your access to the phone, were you looking for nudes?
God, I don't know. Can you imagine working with him? I feel like working with him, I don't know. I might feel like it's like high school era vibes or something.
Or anything like that in regard to the defendant?
Objection.
Beautiful baby on the couch. He says hi. He's cute. He's a cutie pie.
I'll allow it.
Like I stated, I was most interested in Miss Reed's location data, text communications, Google searches, things of that nature. more evidence contained within the phone.
And so, sir, you mentioned at some point you came across some information that caused you to sort of freeze your looking through the phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so, as far as
You're afraid that they're all like immature and gossipy. I don't want to make assumptions because sometimes you do have that 1 or 2 or 3 people in your office environment that's just like really immature, really unprofessional. It's not really your job to put them into place, especially for all like coworkers. His boss, on the other hand, should probably do a little nudge, nudge.
that specific time period in August of 2022, when was the next time that you or any troopers from your office were able to actually look at any extraction of the defendant's phone?
So once I came across that text communication that took place on the 29th between Ms. Reed and an attorney, the phone had to be sent off to what they call a taint team to remove any attorney-client privilege information from the phone, and then it would be returned to us, as well as defense received a copy of that as well. I'm not positive on the time. It was quite a long turnaround for that process to have been completed.
Sometime at least in the spring or summer of 2023. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
May I approach to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Jesus.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Up your cross.
A lot of people chatting right now in the gallery. How long is this for?
We'll be able to keep moving. All right. All right, Mr. Jackson, go right ahead. That we'll be able to. Right now, it may not. We'll start then, so we'll finish it 4.
Wait, sorry. I just want to see what the judge is saying.
You are unmuted.
All right, so just before you start then, so we'll finish it 4. We're trying to figure out the schedule this time. I'm going to meet with the lawyers and witnesses. We're trying to work all that out, but as it looks right now, I thought it was going to interfere with another date this week. As it looks right now, it may not. At the most, it will be half an afternoon or something, maybe on Friday, but it does now look good that we'll be able to continue with this. We're out tomorrow, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be full days, and we'll be able to keep moving. All right. All right, Mr. Jackson, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Trooper Proctor, in the summer of 2022, August 17th specifically, you were sitting at your desk, presumably alone at your office, at about 10 p.m. at night, going through my client's personal cell phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, you were sitting there texting with your friends and colleagues at Massachusetts State Police about you going through.
Wait, the nudes didn't come up. Oh, God. Wouldn't they want to clean up the nudes with the direct examination and not have cross-examination bring it up? Or did I miss that? They didn't mention the nudes in direct, right?
Her personal cell phone. Is that right?
Correct, sir.
And that included Trooper DeChico. Is that right?
DeChico, yes, sir.
Trooper Fanning, Trooper Buchnick, Trooper Moore, and Trooper Kotskowski.
Kakowski.
Tell me that again.
Kakowski.
Kakowski.
Yes, sir.
All right. All the consonants are silent. Fair enough.
Oh, it's probably spelled differently. Okay. All the names are butchered for me right now.
Trooper Fanning and Trooper Buchnick are your supervisors.
Yes.
And you were bragging to all 5 of them that you were going through Karen Reed's cell phone about 9:45 at night.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that right?
No, I wasn't bragging, sir.
How did you refer to Ms. Reed in that text exchange where you informed them that you were going through her phone?
I used regrettable language. I said going through his retarded client's phone right now.
You were shown a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Unetti, correct?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Unetti's like, who you call
Same
retarded?
document I need to come.
Why don't you let Unetti do the cross-examination?
Your Honor, I think the court has the copy.
I'm just
that
kidding. Jackson's prepared for this.
I was going to use.
I thought I gave him back to you.
Examination.
I don't think they could do like a tag team switch midway.
That this document, recognize this document?
I do, sir.
Same document that you were shown, copy of the same document that you were shown by Mr. Yannetti, correct?
Stilali.
I've done that twice. Mr. Lally.
Correct.
All right. Is that a true and accurate reflection of the text messages that you were exchanging with Chris Moore, Jeff Kakowski, John Fanning, Vito
No, someone said he was like 35 years old. I now want to know, how old is he?
DeChico, and Yuri Buchanan?
Any objection?
Okay, sidebar. Oh boy.
You are unmuted.
567, Your Honor. Okay. And then I would ask you to give it back to the witness, please.
Trooper Proctor, Trooper DeChico had sent you a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Yannetti, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, because of the technical issue, I'm not going to display on the television. May I display this hard copy briefly? Sure. Thank you.
Oh, that's what they were looking at the laptop. I was like, who? There's a picture of someone's face on the laptop. I was like, who is that? It might have been Yannetti on the laptop then.
Gentlemen,
I do, sir.
is that the
Yannetti, is that you? Oh, is that him doing an interview or something?
photograph that you received?
Yes.
Is that what you referred to on direct examination with Mr. Lally about receiving a photograph from of Mr. Yannetti?
Correct.
And then your response,
Hey, Ethan, do I take notes? Yes. Yes. It helps to refer back to notes. My favorite, though, is having the transcripts on YouTube, and then you can search through them. The transcripts are amazing. I hope YouTube never gets rid of them.
was what?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
Actually, your response was, I'm going through his retarded client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir, yes.
Who's the retarded client?
I was referring to Miss Reed,
This
again,
is asked and answered.
on professional language.
I'm asking for who you were referring to.
Miss
I know
Reed.
you got an explanation. Who was it that you were referring to as retarded?
Miss Reed.
Karen Reed, the woman sitting to my left.
Yes, sir.
The subject of your investigation as a professional, correct?
Yes, sir.
As an unbiased, objective investigator, the person that you were investigating, you referred to your bosses as retarded, correct?
Again, poor language on my part.
Poor language is one way to put it. Completely offensive is another way to put it, right?
Objection.
I've got to sustain that, Mr. Jackson.
After you referred to my client as retarded, then you decided to make a comment about Mr. Yannetti, her lawyer, correct?
Correct.
And what did you say about Mr. Yannetti again?
I hate that man. I
You missed it. It wasn't mentioned like the defense debt. What's up, Big Von? What did I miss?
truly hate that man.
I hate that man. I truly hate him, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say I dislike him, disagree with him. You said I hate him, correct?
Correct, sir.
That's a visceral response to someone who's just doing a job, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Sure. Let me ask it this way. Were you upset or annoyed or pissed off that Karen Reed had gotten representation, legal representation, to represent her?
No, not at all. That's her right.
Well, let me ask you this. In August of 2022, you said you absolutely hate it, correct?
I don't know if I use absolutely. Yeah, I didn't use absolutely, sir.
You used truly, correct?
Truly, yes.
How do you feel about him now? He's sitting right there.
I still don't care for him now.
Right. I'll let it stand.
What did you tell your colleagues that you were looking for as you sat at almost 10 p.m. at night on a Wednesday night, August 17th, 2022, looking through Karen Reed's phone?
I didn't tell them I was looking through anything. They knew I was going through Miss Reed's phone.
The nude stuff briefly occurred on direct. It did? With what group chat?
I provided a inappropriate joke as an update.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Maybe I do remember it. Was it with the friends? They were calling her hot. Whack job. Was it the group chat with the friends? Oh, hold on a second. Did it? I don't have it written on my notes. When? He said there were none. Jesus. Text with the sister. What was it specifically? He said there were none. I think I vaguely remember that. Didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent though. No ass. Picture shared. Is that chick a smoke? And not bad as Chief would say. The leaky thing. Now this is with his sister. This is with the sister. Sister. Wife Elizabeth. This is with the Dequicho. Talking about the medical examiner. Examiner. The toy Santa Claus. I don't have it in my notes. Corgi was at the very end of direct. Wait, it was? Did I miss it? It was the group that what? Is it cool if I go back?
Assuming the
Message sent from Trooper to Chico on August 17th, 2022 at 9:42 p.m.
Yes.
And is that an image contained on the next page, which is 2683?
Yes, it is.
And what is the image of?
That is a picture of Mr. Yannetti, appears to be from quite some time ago.
Now turning your attention to the next page, 2684. And there's a response from you, August 17th, 2022 at 9:44 p.m. Is that correct?
How did it go over my head? Maybe I was too busy typing something.
Sorry, so the date and time again, please?
Page 2684, 8/17/2022, 9:44 p.m.
Yes.
You see there's like sort of three responses from you?
I have now.
If you could just read the three responses from yourself, sir.
Okay, so these
Oh, it was when your dog jumped on the couch. It was very brief, sounded like news. Oh, hi, Mama Jama. How are you doing today?
came from me. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that man. I truly am.
Oh. I don't have it in my notes. Okay, funny, I'm going through his client's phone. No nudes so far. Yikes. Okay. You know what? I was like, if it was amongst his friends, you know, I don't think it would be as bad. Sounds bad still, but not as bad. But this is with his colleagues, his two supervisors. Oh boy. Holy fuck.
Sorry, so go with the date and time again, please.
Sure. Page 2684, 8/17/2020.
I mean, it could be his way of just being funny, but it just doesn't look good. Ay, ay, ay. It doesn't look good, and to have it read to the jury is going to be like, okay, so this is kind of like the atmosphere of how it was within these troopers who were investigating this case.
9:44 p.m.
Yes,
You see there's like sort of three responses from you.
I have you now.
If you could just read the three responses from yourself, sir.
Okay, so these came from me. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that man. I truly hate him.
Okay, got it. Hi, Troy. How's it going?
faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties
All right, Mr. Jackson. Where are we with Mr. Jackson? It could have been a joke, but still doesn't look good either way. Like I said, man. Like I said, don't ever put yourself in a position where your text messages are going to be read to the world. Sometimes you can't help it, though. Sometimes you are sucked into like a, you know, some sort of like trial stuff. But boy, oh boy, you're the lead investigator. Ay, ay, ay. Oh no, what's going on?
Their attorney on January 29th, so I had to stop looking through her phone.
So you got sidetracked before you could get to the naked pictures of Miss Reed.
Hold on, I went a little too far. Oh God, the way that he words it. Hold on. Come on, YouTube, do your thing. Karen's a 7 at best, though. What do you mean, like looks wise? He's having work convos in his personal phone. I thought this was his work phone. Work phone, work group chat. I'm doing good, Troy. What's going on? What's going on? Have you been watching the Karen Reed trial or you're just tuning in now? Oh my God, I'm sorry. YouTube is like, we can't handle these text messages. Hold on a second. Let me refresh this. Oh shit. Oh.
You are unmuted.
From Mr. Yannetti.
Correct.
And then your response was what? Did it?
Again, it was a poor joke.
Is that yes or no?
Did not know.
It did not.
No,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, what did you write after you talked about going through the, quote, retarded client's phone?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
God, he's got to relive these text messages over and over and over.
No nudes so far.
Okay, all right. I think we're right before this.
Correct?
Correct.
You didn't say I dislike him, disagree with him.
All right, we're right here.
You said I hate him. Correct?
Correct, sir.
That's a visceral response to someone who's just doing a job. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Sure. Let me ask it this way. Were you upset or annoyed or pissed off that Karen Reed had gotten representation, legal representation, to represent her?
No, not at all. That's her right.
Well, let me ask you this. In August of 2022, you said you absolutely hate it, correct?
I don't know if I used absolutely. Yeah, I didn't use absolutely, sir.
You used truly, correct?
Truly, yes.
How do you feel about it now? Sitting right there.
I said
Except Trooper Proctor, none of that really professional sounding stuff ended up in your comments to your bosses, did it?
Again, it was a poor joke.
Is that yes or no?
Did not know.
It did not.
No,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, what did you write after you talked about going through the, quote, retarded client's phone?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No nudes so far.
No nudes so far, correct?
Correct.
And you said that to your bosses.
Yes, sir.
You were looking for naked photographs of Miss Reed on a Wednesday night as you sat in your office at 9:44 p.m., correct?
No, not correct.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked for naked photos of a male suspect that you were investigating?
I don't look for naked photos on anyone's phones.
But you said you were looking for nudes of Miss Reed.
Maybe yes.
Like I said, Mr. Jackson, it was an inappropriate joke.
Oh God, Elizabeth Proctor. Poor Elizabeth Proctor.
Sir, this is a citizen. She's a woman. You were supposed to be objectively investigating. Does your text message to your colleagues at Massachusetts State Police reflect an objective investigation
Why, yes, I have actually. I don't discriminate.
of a citizen?
Objection.
You can get part of that question and ask it again.
Do you believe that your text messages were reflective of an objective investigator?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Do you believe that, Trooper Proctor?
I believe poor jokes have, in unprofessional language, have no bearing on the integrity and the facts and physical evidence of this case.
It's not that they don't have any bearing on the facts and integrity. It's that they have no place in a professional investigation because it shows bias, right?
Objection.
So I have to sustain that as asked. Go ahead and ask it differently, Mr.
Yeah, it looks really bad to the jury right now.
Jackson.
You weren't so much as objectively investigating Karen Reed as objectifying her, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Isn't that right?
Rephrase the question, please.
You weren't so much as objectively investigating her as objective.
Do you think his wife is watching this trial live right now, or do you think she's like, no, I'm not watching. I know it's bad. I'm not going to watch it.
Her in those moments, correct?
Again, Mr. Jackson, it was a poor choice of words and a joke that I should not have texted out. But from the start of the investigation, we didn't know what we had.
And your, Trooper Proctor, your point in saying no nudes so far to your colleagues in Massachusetts State Police was to suggest that you were looking for nudes and you'd update them when you found them, correct?
Incorrect.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you find any nudes of
Again,
Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photo, sir.
Did you find any nudes of Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photo, sir.
You weren't successful in your quest.
I came across text messages from Ms. Reed to another attorney on January 29th, so I had to stop looking through her phone.
So you got sidetracked before you could get to the naked pictures of Ms. Reed. Is that what you're saying?
What a way to phrase that.
Sustained.
Hey,
Those text messages included, as you said, not one but two of your supervisors, correct?
It's a good thing their children are young right now. You know, they'll have a couple years before they realize, oh, my dad was on was on YouTube. Oh, I wonder what for. By then, I'm sure it'll die down.
Were you ever
hopefully.
reprimanded for your conduct in sending that text message?
Objection.
So that's sustained. Do we need to go to sidebar based on what you told me earlier?
We do not.
Okay, so.
I'll ask it a different way.
Okay.
Did either Trooper Fanning or Trooper Buchanan dress you down in a responsive text message in that text thread for doing something so abhorrent as looking for nudes or referring to nudes of a female suspect or subject of your investigation? Did that ever happen?
Not that I can recall.
As a matter of fact,
You're watching a YouTuber that was making fun of Lolly's hair. I said looks jokes are cheap, easy and uninspired. Moms jumped on my ass for it, so I left. There's plenty to tease Lolly over. Oh yeah, there's plenty of material that we could talk about Mr. Lolly.
in reference to one of the text messages in the same string, your boss, Yuri Buchanan, actually responded to the photo of Mr. Yannetti, didn't he?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
He did, sir.
After you received the photo, that's when you said, I'm, quote, funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow this, but not too many more.
Sure.
I think we could move on. I mean, we could see how bad it is.
Is that correct? It's on the top of page
Yes, sir.
685.
That's correct.
And Yuri Buchanan liked that comment. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Didn't he?
I see you laughed at an image here, sir. I can't tell if he liked that comment, sir.
Can I approach?
Yes.
I mean, if they showed us, we can just see it for ourselves, you know?
I don't know if it's just because it's faded or... Yeah, my copy's faded.
You see on the top of that page.
Sergeant Buchanan liked it.
Like what?
The going through his retarded client's phone, sir.
Can I approach?
Yes.
I'll take my copy.
There you go.
So your supervisors at Massachusetts State Police not only didn't ride you for making comments like this, he encouraged it.
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Proctor, this is your direct chain of command. Is that right? Yuri Buchanan?
Yes, sir.
Did you believe that your conduct was a misuse of your authority and power as you were going through her phone in August of 2022?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, I had a warrant signed by a district clerk, Stoughton district clerk, to go through Miss Reed's phone. I don't think it was an abuse of power. I had every right to go through that phone.
Did the warrant say anything about looking for nudes of my client?
Objection.
Did it
No, you're,
say anything about that?
God damn, she scares me sometimes when she like interjects like that. Did it? I'm like, holy fuck, Beth. Oh, Judge.
Your Honor.
Okay, next
Scaring
question.
me.
So that would be an abuse of the power that was given to you by the court, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Proctor, you'd agree that the hallmark of any good investigation, as you've been taught and others in Massachusetts State Police have been taught, is that the investigation and the investigator have to be fair. They have to be impartial. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Meaning that the investigation has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes, sir.
The investigator has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes.
The investigation has to be free of bias. Is that right?
Correct.
You can't be biased against the person that you're investigating. That would compromise the entire thing, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Basically, you follow the evidence. You're supposed to follow the evidence wherever it takes you, right?
Correct.
Good or bad, top to bottom, just follow the evidence and report it back. That's how an investigation is supposed to be run, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And these are things that you learn early on at Massachusetts State Police Academy and then in your detective training. Isn't that right?
It is.
Literally, it's part of an oath that you took at the academy that you will, quote, faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent on you as a Massachusetts State Police trooper, right?
Yes, sir.
You swore that oath.
I did.
When you start an investigation, everybody in that investigation should be treated exactly the same. Don't you believe that's true?
Correct.
Everybody, have you ever heard the phrase, everybody's a suspect until they're not? Right?
Objection.
Sustained.
It's especially important early in an investigation, before all of the facts are known, that the investigator is not compromised by bias, prejudice, right?
No, Nicole was saying there was someone else that she was watching.
Correct.
Most important early in the investigation, because that's when the most things are up in the air. There's the cloud, the fog of not knowing exactly what the truth is, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
In other words, Trooper Proctor, you don't get to pick a suspect and then try to find evidence to support your choice, right?
Correct.
But in this case, it's exactly what you did, isn't it?
Absolutely not.
All right, Mr. Jackson, why don't we end for today?
This is
Okay.
as good a place as
This is what the jury's going to marinate on for the next day.
Okay. All right.
For the rest of today, for tomorrow.
All right, so folks, we're off tomorrow. Those same 3 cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any
Unfortunate for the state.
independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, read anything about the case, please disregard it. Let us know. We'll see you Wednesday
Man, look at who's smirking now.
morning. So Wednesday, Thursday,
She
Friday,
knew it went really bad for him.
right now. All right.
Nearly 5 years in the dungeon. Can I get eating?
Shut up. Chai, thank you so much for the reset for 59 months on Twitch. Thank you, thank you. You shush your bush, okay? Okay, we have a lot to talk about. I don't even know where to start. Should I do the lolly thing and start from the very beginning? Oh, God. That went so bad for him. Oh, God. I mean, I have so much to say. Okay, they're just chilling there. What is the judge going to say?
All right, thank you very much.
All rise for the court, please.
I don't know. That'd be it. Okay, y'all look at the fan real quick. I'm gonna use the bathroom and then let's do a recap and let's talk about this. God help me if my messages are ever used against me. Yeah, because people tend to be more edgy when it comes to text messages, group messages with friends, family, people that you're close with, coworkers. Sometimes, maybe, depending on what profession it is. Maybe, possibly, depending on how old you are. Matt Chatter says, I do have to say that I do like MDD Baker, though. Who do you guys watch for this trial coverage? What are the YouTubers you guys watch? Whether if it's like a live stream, YouTube video, any sort of coverage. Who do you guys watch on YouTube for the Karen Reed trial? Because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people, because there's so much confusion with this case, if they jump around to multiple content creators just to get a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of, to see what other people think, I guess, about this case, about their interpretation of some evidence, interpretation of how Mr. Lawley is trying the case, what they think about Karen Reed, what they think about surveillance footage, how they interpret certain, like just the evidence, the taillights, all that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people jump around a lot. Laura, Uncivil Law, EDB, Emily, Laura, Natalie Lorichik, Andrea Borkhardt, EDB, Laura, Okay, I know all those people. I've never heard of Uncivil Law. I don't think I've heard of them before. The Glare, I don't know if I've heard of them before. Emily Baker, Ronco I've heard of, but I haven't seen their streams yet. I watch a lot of law tubers. No one thinks she's guilty. The CW has not shown a single piece of direct evidence to prove the car hit the guy. I've seen more than a few people get hit, and the injuries on the guy was not typical by any stretch, says Observer. Yeah, this case is wild. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you guys just jump to different content creators just to get their opinions on this, because it's very confusing. And there's many ways to interpret a lot of the evidence. Oh boy, so where do I even start with this? Oh gosh, let me go in my notes. Should I get my glasses? Oh, I have my serial killer glasses. Ugh. I call these my serial killer glasses because these are the glasses that I got for free, but they look so bad. Oh god, they look really bad. And they don't have anti-glare coating. You watched Aussie Insider, Natalie Lawyer Chick, and Uncivil Law. His recaps are hilarious. Emma Baker, because she was prosecutor. She knows how the process should be. Rob. Oh, wait, Rob is Uncivil Law? I thought that was Law and Lumber. Did they change their name? His dry humor is perfect. Aussie Insider catches the clips from all of them. I jumped to many different content creators to get different opinions on you, Corgi. Yeah, there's so much glare. I know. Should I not wear them then? Fine, I won't wear them. Fine, I won't wear them. Fine. Oh, Kurt is Uncivil Law. Rob is Law and Lumber. Yeah, that's what I remember. All good. All right, where do we even... Let's back it up by a lot. So unrelated though, beginning the stream, we covered Paige Hannah's video. She posted her third one in regards to her experience with Jody and Ruby Frankie. And she goes into some details about when Jody came to live at her house for 6 weeks. So if you guys haven't seen that, it's at the beginning of the stream, but I should probably, I'm so sorry. I'm because I've been watching these live streams with the Karen Reed stuff, I've been too lazy to cover other stuff and making the YouTube videos on those. So I'll try to be better, okay? Because I have not posted a Sarah Boone video yet, and I completely forgot over this past weekend. I'm so sorry. So I'll try to work on it today. But yeah, if you don't want to watch the beginning of the stream, I'll post the Paige Hannah video separately. All right, after that, we covered day 22 of the Karen Reed trial. And you would think in day 22, we would be like, okay, Karen Reed did it. Let's go. Good luck for you, defense. Good luck trying to unravel all of that. But we're at day 22 right now, and a lot of us feel like we haven't really seen much. We've seen some things where we've heard some witnesses, paramedics talk about, I hit him, did I hit him, I hit him, did I hit him? We heard from Jen McCabe, but people don't trust her. We've heard from Carrie Roberts saying sort of what Jen was saying, but not really exactly what Jen was saying. I don't think Carrie Roberts was the one that said, I hit him. Carrie Roberts said, did I hit him? We've heard from law enforcement who came and, they also collected taillight pieces. We've seen some footages of, for example, the welfare check of when they pulled up and then you could see Karen's car at John O'Keefe's house and the taillight does look busted. We've seen pictures at the Sally Port. We've seen footages of Karen Reed's car being towed from her parents' house. We've seen a lot of stuff. We've heard from a lot of testimonies. I think more than 50, 60 plus witnesses. I think we're right around there. But what's really missing from this picture, and we finally just got to lead investigator on day fucking 22. We haven't heard from the medical examiner. We haven't heard about how the car could have hit him in a way where it'll create this injury or that injury or this injury here or this injury here. Haven't really heard from that. There's just a lot of things where we're just we're still waiting in the dark. And like I said, from day 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm like, oh, I'm sure Mr. Lally will get there. We just have to be patient. It's 3 weeks into the trial, okay? 3-4 weeks into the trial, and we're still kind of like, what is going on here? It seems like the prosecution is putting a lot of emphasis and focus on disputing or debating or fighting against all the accusations that are made at some of the witnesses, right? Instead of saying, okay, Karen Reed did this is how she did it, this is how the injuries happened, here are the witnesses, blah, blah, blah. It seems like we spent a huge chunk of time focusing on, okay, well, here's to show Colin wasn't involved, Brian wasn't involved, Jen's not involved, blah, 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 blah. And then we're finally getting to the Karen Reed part, but because it's so muddled with Mr. Proctor's testimony and his text messages, we're kind of getting there, but we're kind of not. I also did want to point out, remember how I said that there was a person or a witness who testified from UC Davis Veterinary School, and I thought their testimony was very out of place. Well, come to find out in the state's motion, there was a little little thing at the bottom where it says there was a scheduling conflict thing. So that's why she testified a lot earlier. Because I was like, oh, her testimony like came out of nowhere. Anyways, so I was right. There was a scheduling thing. But maybe we'll hear back from them again. But anyways, just to go back from the beginning of today, I know I was doing a recap of like the entirety of the trial, but just to go recap today, Jesus, that's a lot. We started off with some arguments with Judge Canoni and Mr. Yannetti. The judge was being very impatient, and she's being very impatient. She didn't like the way Yannetti was addressing the court because she thinks that Yannetti is talking in such, I don't know, flowery language that is trying to appeal to us, the people that are watching the live streams, right? The court of public opinion. Judge is like, no, cut the bullshit. Just talk to me directly. But the way that transpired, I don't know. It seems really... Sometimes the judge acts in a way where I'm just like, it's just like a little too abrasive. Like, can she just like chill out a little bit? But I get it. She just wants to get to the meat of the argument because, you know, they're on this really weird time thing and the court schedule has been really fucky. I don't know. Anyways, there was a back and forth with her and Yannetti, and they are going to probably do voir dire. I know the judge thought maybe there's going to be a voir dire for the entire day for the witnesses for the defense. We have some people that are going to testify. I think they're going to be like people who are going to do the crash reconstruction thing. People who are going to talk about John O'Keefe's injuries. I think one specifically was a pathologist who has extensive ER experience. They're going to talk about dog bites, car crashes, stuff like that. But it seems like they're going to do a voir dire process because the state has been pushing on those witnesses, saying they're like, oh, this is a surprise attack. Like, oh, we didn't know about this. Blah, blah. All right. Anyway, so we'll have to hear from the witnesses later on this week when they do the voir dire process. That's going to be outside of the jury. Jury's not going to be in there for that. We continue the direct examination of State Trooper Yuri Buchanan, and people were like, well, you know, since Buchanan is up there testifying, is it possible that they're just going to have Buchanan testify because he was with Proctor most of the time and just not call Proctor? There's a lot of speculation of whether or not Proctor was going to testify. So Yuri Buchanan, again, they went back to the Sallyport video. They inverted the video this time. It's been flipped over. And as we're watching the entirety of the footage, you know, there's some stuff with the motion sensors. So it looks like at times people were appearing on the camera and people were disappearing, or people were kind of like blurring in and out and stuff like that. There was some lag, so we looked at that. What else was there? Because I don't want to go over the entire thing because I talked about it earlier. Talk about the Buchanan stuff. We had... Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Snow melted, blah, blah, blah. Met with Higgins. Oh, wait, I think I scrolled back way too far. Day 21. Oops. We're in day 22, right? Day 22. Okay. Buchanan. Oh, and then we heard from a Dayton police officer. So I know there was like, you know, some theories out there that maybe state troopers have been tainted, maybe Canton PD are tainted, maybe they're involved, they're tied with the Albert family. But we have heard of someone who's not part of Canton PD, someone who's not part of the troopers, who don't know the Albert family. And his name is I think Officer Barrels from Dayton PD. So that's the area where Karen Reed and her mom and dad live. So, you know, they did a courtesy call. They called him up saying like, hey, you know, we're going to be in your area. We need a local cop to show up there and just be present. So he agreed to do that. Now, he did say this, and you guys can interpret it however you want. He said this: there was damage to the right rear taillight. Taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked, but not completely damaged. And that there was a dent on the rear quarter. So we have his statement. We have the statement of Carrie Roberts. We have the statement of, who else talked about the taillight? Jen McCabe. Well, sorry, let me take out Jen McCabe. Carrie Roberts, him, and there was another person too who talked about the taillight. I forgot who it was. And so we also heard from, I think that's it, right? Yeah, went straight to Trooper Proctor. Okay. So, oh yeah, Trooper Proctor also talked about the taillight, except Trooper Proctor said that, and this is around the same time where they saw the taillight, Trooper Proctor said that right rear taillight had large pieces missing from it. Because initially I was like, okay, well, maybe when the Dayton PD saw the taillight, maybe there was like snow caked on there and he couldn't see like chunks of it missing. But Proctor would have saw the taillight right before the other law enforcement saw it. And he said there was large chunks missing. And then we got into the Proctor. Let's see. So what Proctor did that day. What I wanted to bring up was, remember how Canton PD, they called state to come process the crime scene, but then they were like, oh, but the state wouldn't come because John O'Keefe has not been pronounced dead yet. And so we had to deal with it. We had to process the crime scene. We had to do what we had, the leaf blower thing, blah, 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 collect evidence. But it seems like from what Proctor is saying, it seems like they may have got into it right away. I don't know. There is like a a chunk of time where we don't really know what's happening though. Because he says he got the call at 6:48 a.m. from Buchanan. Saying that there might be a male outside in the snow, might be a medical situation, they need to gather evidence, and they arrived at Canton PD at like 10 a.m., right? So I don't know from the call they got from Buchanan, were they just chilling